Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/watch. Sponsored in part by attorney Stephen A. Leahy at Opum Tax Advocates.
In 2012, the Journal of Cognition and Emotion published a study that showed that we make a decision to trust a person within 100 milliseconds of seeing their face. Making a good first impression has never been more important, and you can make that positive impression with a professional headshot from Tom Killoran Photography. Whether you're a job seeker trying to land your next position, or you're looking to build your business by connecting with prospective clients and customers, you need a high-quality headshot to use with your resume, portfolio, website, or other marketing materials. The experts at Tom Killoran Photography can work with you to capture the exact look you need for your professional presentation. Tom Killoran Photography is also the official photographer for AM 560 The Answer. To learn more and to see a sample of their work, just visit KilloranPhotography.com. That's KILLORAN Photography.com, or call them at 708-361-0025. Tom Killoran Photography, capturing important life moments for over 30 years.
Salem News Channel is America's fastest growing conservative TV network.
It's an absolute crazy day.
Home to the largest lineup of free speech champions anywhere. Delivering in-depth insight and unapologetic opinion on today's biggest news stories.
Americans aren't going to put up with this anymore.
SNC brings you the news that matters, told with integrity and clarity. Watch Salem News Channel free 24/7 on your television. Stream now on Xumo Play.
Don't miss Destination Retirement with Robert Kuhn every Sunday from 11 to 12. Robert has a different way of looking at retirement from most financial advisors and is happy to share his ideas with you every week. So don't miss what he has to say. Destination Retirement with Robert Kuhn, Sunday mornings from 11 to 12 on AM 560 The Answer.
5:11 Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. No big problems out there. Edens, Kennedy, Ike, and Stevenson are off on time. Northwest Indiana and the toll roads also moving without delay. The traffic is a service of Robert Half. Robert Half research indicates 9 of 10 hiring managers are having difficulty hiring. Robert Half is here to help. They know talent. Visit roberthalf.com today. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy starts next. Now your official Chicagoland weather forecast. Here's AccuWeather's Steve Williams.
Sun and clouds, very cold day today. We do have a cold weather advisory this morning. A high today at 11. Cloudy, brisk, very cold tonight with the low 0. Clouds and frigid. Flurries tomorrow, the high 14. Sunny, cold day Thursday, the high at 21. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
And there are some schools that are delaying opening, going to e-learning, or in fact, a few like Lake Station in Indiana are closing today because of lake effect snow and the extreme cold. So check your website, check your email or your text for any updated school information. Partly cloudy and 3 below 0 at O'Hare, 7 below in Aurora, 6 below Waukegan, 2 below in Morris, 1 above Lakefront. Your next news update, 5:30. Chicago's Morning Answer starts next on AM 560, The Answer.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6745. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6745. That's 800-575-6745. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Does pain in your life impact everything you do, like walking, climbing stairs, even getting out of your car? You don't have to live like this. Hey, Amy Jacobson here with a solution. Joint pain in your knees, hips, shoulders, and back due to arthritis or an injury can be eliminated. How? Well, with the help from our good friends at QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics regenerative treatments are sweeping the nation. Everyone's talking about it. And they're right here in Chicago under the guidance of medical director Dr. Ashley Caravelli. Here's how it works. QC Kinetics treatments prompt your body to heal and restore damaged joints. Joint pain doesn't get better with time. See if you're a candidate for these life-changing treatments. Call QC Kinetics for a free consultation and tell them Amy Jacobson sent you. Saturday appointments available. Call 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. Again, 312-809-5955.
Aristotle laid the groundwork for Western philosophy.
The Aristotle bedroom at Penny Mustard is where you can lay down after a long day of work.
Aristotle's studies were diverse.
The Aristotle bedroom is also diverse. It coordinates with any decor.
With lots of underbed storage.
Just think of all the togas you can store down there.
The Aristotle bedroom, starting at just $5.97 a month, with only 1 penny down and no interest till August of 2026 through February 23rd at Penny Mustard.
7 locations throughout Chicagoland.
PennyMustard.com.
Wealth Health Radio. The biggest fears that people have is, do I have enough money to retire?
Retirement doesn't have to be complicated.
To make sure that you're going through retirement with confidence.
Learn principles of income planning.
There's a lot of different facets that you need to take into consideration when you're retiring.
Tune into Wealth Health Radio with Joe Murphy, noon to 1 p.m. Sundays on AM 560. The Answer.
MyPillow is excited to announce that they're having the first ever mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save over 50% on this season's flannel sheets. Queen size only $59.98. Kings only $69.98. They sell out fast every year, so order now. Save 30% on their brand new My Crosses. They're designed in the likeness of the one Mike has worn every day for 20 years. They come in men's and women's, and they're made right here in the USA. Get the 2025 6-piece My Towel sets for only $29.98. The initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. And the best-selling standard MyPillow, just $14.98. To take advantage of the first ever mega sale, go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201. That's 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. But wait, remember that $75 free shipping rule? Well, that ship has sailed because right now every order ships absolutely free. MyPillow.com, promo code LIBERTY.
Why do so many companies count on Riverdale Plating and Heat Treating? Consistent high level of quality, an ISO certified and A2LA accredited heat treating, electroplating, fastener sorting, and packaging job shop. Riverdale Plating and Heat Treating meets and exceeds client specifications. Whether a high volume or a small production run, their processes ensure a job well done. Celebrating their 15th anniversary this year, they specialize in metal fasteners and stampings for automotive and other industries. And with a newly expanded sorting department, there are many sorting and packaging options to meet your needs. Riverdale Plating and Heat Treating serves customers in Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Ohio, Wisconsin, and Tennessee, with easy access to all forms of transportation from an automated facility in Riverdale, Illinois, just 15 minutes southwest of Chicago. Want consistent quality? Call Riverdale Plating and Heat Treating, 708-849-2050, or visit RiverdalePHT.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So the working relationship between Tom Homan and New York City Mayor Eric Adams may be coming to a quick end with Kathy Hochul, the governor of New York, of course. She affiliates with the Covidian religion, in case you're wondering and have forgotten. Anyway, she is contemplating using the power the governor in New York State has to remove Mayor Adams. He had 4 deputy mayors resign recently. And she writes, and he sat down with Fox and Friends. We'll play some highlights from that in a second, with Tom Homan. He met with Tom Homan, then he sat down at Fox and Friends, and the two of them did a debriefing on their meeting on Fox and Friends. Now the governor is saying, quote, I recognize the immense responsibility I hold as governor and the constitutional powers granted to this office. In the 235 years of New York State history, these powers have never been utilized to remove a duly elected mayor. Overturning the will of the voters is a serious step and should not be taken lightly. That said, the alleged conduct at City Hall that has been reported over the past 2 weeks is troubling and cannot be ignored. Tomorrow, I've asked key leaders to meet. That would be today. I've asked key leaders to meet me at my Manhattan office for a conversation about the path forward with the goal of ensuring stability for New York City, blah, blah, blah. The past 2 weeks, so, I mean, clearly she wasn't troubled when the sitting mayor of New York was indicted by the federal government. That didn't bother her. But the last 2 weeks, what's happened in the last 2 weeks?
This has happened. Last 2 weeks?
Yeah, what's happened in the last 2 weeks is Eric Adams requested, and he obtained a meeting with Tom Homan, and he has made Rikers Island available to ICE.
I'll tell you, when I sat down with him, I saw the cop in him. And he really does want to do the right thing because he is a cop. He's a lifelong cop. And so he wants to help take public safety threats off the streets in New York, make New York safer. He also wants to help find these missing children. We got 300,000 missing children. That many of them are here in this city. We know that. We got to find them. And we'll be working with his intelligence division, his officers, to save these children because many of these children are in forced sex trafficking. Many are in forced labor. We need to save them. And I think everybody can agree to that. I don't care what side of the political spectrum you're on.
And Eric Adams reciprocated.
Yeah, people want to hijack this narrative and turn it into a political narrative where we're saying we need to have public safety. I requested the meeting. I reached out to his team and said, we want to sit down. This has been an issue I was talking about before the election. Spring of 2022. You look at these quotes over and over again. We need to go after these dangerous people in our street. And now I have someone that understands that narrative, and we are fighting together to get it done.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. The removal of Mayor Eric Adams over his willingness to work with ICE, and the clear indication is in violation of at least the spirit of the sanctuary city and state laws in New York, just like Illinois. How about that?
It just smells a lot like what they did to President Trump. At the time, candidate Trump, going after him any way they can, so what? He signed an executive order allowing ICE to use Rikers Island, the jail for housing illegal detainees, and she's upset about that more so than him getting, indicted before. I don't know. She can't control him, so she wants him gone. It's very cut from the Democratic playbook.
So Adams and Homan agreed to disagree, though, on the ongoing status of New York City as a sanctuary city. Adams continued to try to middle the issue. He's trying to sort of maintain it. He's sort of trying to maintain it as a sanctuary city with providing some carve-outs for things like he's doing, which is providing ICE access to Rikers Island. And this was their back and forth on the official designation as a sanctuary city.
What we will always be. This has always been a city of immigrants.
So you think it should be?
No. Let me explain, because this is what's getting conflated all the time. Where the sanctuary city is stated that if you're in this city and you're paying taxes, you should have access to the services. What I asked the city council to do, change the bill that was already in place and modify it, that if you are committing a crime, that we should be able to collaborate with ICE, even on civil enforcement, if you have committed a crime. That part of the bill is wrong. But everyday people who are here until they're moving to be documented, if they are going to school, working, paying taxes, then they should be able to provide police services, hospital services, children should go to school. That is what we're saying.
You don't agree with that, Tom?
I don't agree. I think sanctuaries are sanctuary criminals. But we walked out of the meeting yesterday, and getting back in Rikers Island is a game changer. We can get, not only we get the bad guys where they hit the street, the intelligence of how the TDA operates, where they're operating, all this intelligence they gather at Rikers Island, we'll have access to. But no, I'm strictly against sanctuary city status just because I think sanctuaries are for criminals.
Right.
And
they're a magnet.
But the beauty here is that we're allowed to disagree.
Right.
But we do agree on the fundamental that no matter who you are, it should be saved.
So he wants to preserve it, at least in name, if not completely in spirit. But giving ICE access to Rikers Island has prompted the potential of his removal. A governor publicly talking about power that she has in New York, that, for example, Pritzker does not have in Illinois, power to remove the mayor of the biggest city in America. That would be something. That would be a moment. Over allowing ICE access to a prison to remove people in this country illegally who are being housed in Rikers Island at present. If this doesn't speak to sort of the ideological fervor of the left when it comes to open borders, I don't know what does.
I mean, do you think Pritzker would do that to Mayor Johnson if he all of a sudden didn't want to be a sanctuary city anymore?
Well, he can't. He doesn't have the same power in Illinois.
That's right. It's New York. Sorry. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. You could also text us on that very same number.
It's very interesting what's happening here with the new sheriff in town that J.D. Vance previewed at the Munich Security Conference. The model that the Trump administration is providing for the Western world, and maybe the model that Eric Adams is providing for big blue city mayors. Boy, it's a really an interesting political calculus here, Kathy Hochul's to make, even with the support of some senior staff that's leaving under protest of this modest policy change. Really interesting to see how far exactly they want to take it, because Eric Adams, whatever his faults, and there are many, I mean, this is a very modest and sensible move in the direction of public safety, just as his discussions about the Daniel Penny case, and essentially, without explicitly saying it, essentially saying that Daniel Penny shouldn't have been prosecuted, and he was defending himself and others, and it was legitimate. I mean, as Tom Homan said in the exchange at the beginning, I sat down with him, and the cop in him is there. The cop in him is still there. Mm-hmm. It's just conflicted with the politician in him that has to try to placate the open borders radical left, the AOCs and the Kathy Hochul's and so many more of these politicians that populate New York City and New York State. But what's happening is producing real results, and Eric Adams is smart, the politician in him, smart to try and get ahead of it and be a part of it. Tom Homan tweeting out yesterday, in the last 24 hours, the U.S. Border Patrol has encountered a total of 229 aliens across the entire southwest border. That is down from a high of more than 11,000 a day. 229 yesterday, down from 11,000 a day under Biden. I started as a Border Patrol agent in 1984, Homan goes on to say, and I don't remember the numbers ever being that low. President Trump promised a secure border, and he is delivering. And for all those big city, sanctuary city and sanctuary state jurisdictions who were the recipient of buses from Texas and Florida, and then the hue and cry about the resources they're not getting from the federal government that they need to provide for the people that are being shipped up, and the inhumanity of Greg Abbott and Ron DeSantis of sending people from the border to New York or Chicago or L.A. And yet here you have the influx down from 11,000 a day to 229 yesterday, the lowest number Tom Homan remembers in 40 years of being in border security. And that's received how? By both the politicians and the electorates that prop them up. Well, shouldn't that be something that's celebrated?
Yeah.
This is preventative. This is a prophylactic, and it's working. And so you don't have these problems of people in your city, in this country illegally, committing crimes or gobbling up scarce taxpayer resources. This should be something that is applauded, but of course it won't be. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. One other wrinkle on this New York City thing that's just, I mean, you know, this is Kafkaesque. You just can't parody these jurisdictions. At the same time that Eric Adams is potentially going to be removed for cooperating to an extent with ICE, there is a move in New York City, a renewed move, to give non-citizens the right to vote.
Oh, come on.
Of course.
Oh, it's clown world.
This has been going on for a while, and there is opposition to it, but there is still this push, and it speaks to just how ideological the left is when it comes to this identitarian issue. And frankly, it was a New York State, it was a congresswoman from New York State who famously said out loud about the illegal immigrants that are being welcomed into New York City and New York State. Well, we need them to replace the people who are leaving.
Right.
So that we can maintain the number of congresswomen we have, and I can maintain my little perch in Congress. Very interesting times in New York City. At least there, as compared to Chicago, you have some real political debate and real political fights going on over important public policies that relate to public safety. At least there's a fight. So I wish I could be more encouraged in that direction about Chicago, but I don't see in Chicago what I see in New York City, in part because the mayor is so markedly different. But very interesting to watch, including what Hochul has to say today after her emergency meeting. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
A great smile can make you feel happy and confident. So when you consciously conserve your teeth, that glowing smile will show through. At Best Dental Group, doctors Economos, Gavalis, and their staff are ready to help you create that perfect look or maintain the one you have now. Along with general dentistry, Best Dental Group is a multidiscipline practice with an orthodontist, periodontist, and prosthetic specialists on site. They use the newest breakthroughs in dental technology such as titanium implants, Invisalign clear braces, and laser treatments. Don't let fear get in the way. They can recommend sedation to make your experience as comfortable as possible. Best Dental Group is located in historic downtown Bartlett and is a multilingual office. Call 630-830-4930, 630-830-4930, or visit bestdental.org. Best Dental Group, sharing your conservative values and helping you to conserve your teeth.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
We'll stick on this topic of border security and the deportation issues because the churches are getting involved again, as they are wont to do, Christian churches, Catholic churches. And, if you're a church-going person, you may want to pay attention, find out where your clergy are at on these issues, because more and more are weighing in, and they're making a mess of themselves doing so. 538.
And they forget about the past. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
3 below zero at 5:32 here in Chicago. Transportation Safety Board of Canada leading the investigation into a plane crash at the Toronto airport Monday that left 18 injured. Fox's Eric Shawn has more details this morning on the victims.
Thankfully, no deaths have been reported, but about 8 people, passengers, have been injured. The Toronto Star sadly reporting that a pediatric patient, a baby, has been transported to the hospital in critical condition. Perhaps that child was sitting on a parent's lap. Oftentimes people fly with their babies, their toddlers on the lap. They don't always get a car seat. So perhaps that is what happened when the plane landed and the child sadly went in the air. We will have to see. Officials say, though, all 80 people are accounted for, thankfully.
The Transportation Safety Board of Canada is in charge of the investigation. The crash happened amidst blowing snow and winds of more than 40 miles an hour. The U.S. is holding talks with Russia over ending the war in Ukraine. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and National Security Advisor Mike Waltz are leading the talks.
American negotiators arrived in Saudi Arabia ahead of the Russians. Ukrainians. NATO's Secretary General still believes this is the way forward and does not think U.S. negotiators will appease Putin. Secretary of State Rubio is looking to avoid a repeat Russian invasion of Ukraine after Trump's term. Ukrainian rare earth minerals are on the White House's wish list in a peace deal. Democrats could support that if it's possible. Rubio, Waltz, and Witkoff are setting the table for a Saudi summit with Trump and Putin.
The president has also spoken with French President Emmanuel Macron this week about those negotiations. Floods tore through the south over the weekend, soaking apartments at the Retreat at Concord in Clarksville, Tennessee. This resident trying to stay a little positive after losing his car.
Scary, didn't know what you were walking in, plus you don't know what's in the water. It could be toxic, anything, But other than that, I guess God will find a way to make us all clear and get it done.
A measles outbreak in West Texas has infected dozens, and health officials fear the true number of cases may be as high as 300. Many of those who contracted measles are unvaccinated from a rural Mennonite community. Bitter temperatures continue in the Chicago area. Health officials here warning the public to take precautions against cold weather-related conditions like hypothermia and frostbite. A patient accused of stabbing an ER doctor at Provident Hospital in Chicago. Police say the suspect allegedly approached the 56-year-old doctor with a sharp object, then stabbed him in the chest. The doctor was taken to a trauma center and is said to be in fair condition. Bulls gearing up for the second half of the NBA season as they take on the Knicks on Thursday. Fighting Illini look to get back in the win column, visiting number 11 Wisconsin at the Kohl Center tonight. And the Cubs add a little bit of depth to their starting rotation. The Northsiders signing right-hander Chris Flexen to a minor league deal yesterday. He spent last season with the White Sox. The news service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Overpaying for dental implants is over. If you have Blue Cross Blue Shield, PPO, or FEP, you could save 90% off on average to get your smile back at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher is excited about what he sees from his president.
I have never had so much fun coming into work as I am now these days. 1 week into the Trump administration, Trump 2.0, I can't get to work fast enough. There was some traffic today driving into work. I thought, no, don't slow me down. I got to get into work. We got to take to the airwaves. There is so much happening.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
This is Ed Morrissey of HotAir.com for Town Hall. Donald Trump may not have won in a landslide last November, but Democrats may not yet realize how disconnected they are from the American electorate and why. In the middle of the Democratic National Committee election last month, an official declared that the DNC had not met its quota of non-binary board members. He then changed the election conditions to force members to meet the quota. In one moment, the DNC showed why Americans now give them their worst approval ratings ever. Democrats went all in on DEI, especially applied to transgender activism. They forced girls and women to compete against males, share locker rooms and bathrooms with boys and men, and Americans hated it. A new poll from Marquette shows that over 6 in 10 Americans support Trump's efforts to employ biological reality to public policy, including 66% of independent voters. Democrats' transgender activism made their truth denial too obvious to ignore any longer. Reality is pushing back.
MyPillow is excited to announce that they're having the first ever mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save over 50% on this season's flannel sheets. Queen size only $59.98, kings only $69.98. They sell out fast every year, so order now. Save 30% on their brand new My Crosses. They're designed in the likeness of the one Mike has worn every day for 20 years. They come in men's and women's, and they're made right here in the USA. Get the 2025 6-piece My Towel sets for only $29.98. The initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. And the best-selling standard MyPillow, just $14.98. To take advantage of the first ever mega sale, go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201. That's 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. But wait, remember that $75 free shipping rule? Well, that ship has sailed because right now every order ships absolutely free. MyPillow.com, promo code LIBERTY.
Perhaps you're a collector, or perhaps all of a sudden you have a collection. Maybe it's an inheritance. How do you know what it's worth? This is Sean Thompson for Donley Auction. The market for antiques and collectibles is changing all the time. What is your collection worth right now? Well, I've got an easy way to find out. It's simple. You contact Donley Auctions with their worldwide audience of live and in-person auctions. They have a good idea of how to tell you exactly what it's worth at exactly right now. They're ready to put top dollar in your pocket. The bigger the collection, the better. Go to DonleyAuctions.com and get the info on all things that they buy and sell to have an idea of exactly what Donley does and how much they need your collection. They have so many buyers, it's a great time to sell. Just simply make a phone call. Donley has traveled all over the country to pick up collections. Just call and talk to the people at Donley Auctions at 815-923-7000. Donley Auctions is your trusted partner in turning your collections into cash. DonleyAuctions.com.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
At 5:40, let's get a check on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Stevenson inbound, already a tap of the brakes inbound between Ashland and the Dan Ryan. Slow traffic on the Tri-State already this morning. Northbound right at the Reagan, I-88. I-80, Will County, disabled vehicle on the exit ramp, the off-ramp to I-55. So that's I-80 eastbound to northbound 55, where you will find that disabled vehicle. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Very cold with sun through high clouds today. We will be fortunate to hit 11 today. Becoming cloudy, brisk, and very cold overnight. A low of 0. Cloudy, frigid, couple of flurries tomorrow. A high of 14. 4 below at O'Hare, 9 below in Aurora, 2 below in Joliet, 7 below in Waukegan, 4 below in Wheeling, 0 along the lakefront. Your next news update is at 6. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Just following up on the conversation we were having about Eric Adams's political peril in New York City, where he may be removed by the governor, so she says.
Oh my God.
May be removed by the governor for cooperating on the margins with ICE, providing ICE access to Rikers Island to obtain people in this country legally who've committed crimes, probably plural if they're at Rikers. And, I mean, in addition to coming here illegally, which is a crime, they're not at Rikers for no reason. They're not at Rikers just for coming here illegally. So that's the issue. He is cooperating, providing exactly what Tom Homan has asked, even of the sanctuary jurisdiction. Just give us access to your jails. It's safer for everybody. And the cop and Eric Adams prevailed in that instance. And now he may be removed from office. But I mentioned, part of this is the dogma of the new Marxists when it comes to open borders is self-survival in places that are hemorrhaging population like New York and Illinois and California. And I mentioned the Congresswoman. I just wanted to provide the proof. You'll remember Yvette Clarke. She is one of the members of the New York state congressional delegation, and this is what she said.
I'm from Brooklyn, New York. We have a diaspora that can absorb a significant number of these migrants. And when I hear colleagues talk about, the doors of the inn being closed, no room in the inn, I'm saying, I need more people in my district, but just for redistricting purposes. And those members could clearly fit here.
I need more people in my district just for redistricting purposes. I got to keep my district.
Yeah, but they don't care if they bring in criminals and people that kill American citizens.
Something else on the topic, Tom Homan tweeting out about in his 40 years in border security, never seen as few a number of people encountered at the border as he did in the last 24 hours. 229 when we were doing 11,000 a day under Biden.
Oh my God.
And that checks out. Bill Melugin, Fox News, and their point guy on all things immigration related, reporting on a San Diego NGO that is closing their migrant shelter because there are no migrants.
So this San Diego NGO says its shelter has had not a single migrant walk through its door since President Trump took office. They're now closing that shelter down and laying off more than 100 employees, they say, because of Trump's border policies and his ending of their federal funding. Jewish Family Service San Diego has been running a rapid response migrant shelter that offered migrants care packages, food, legal services, travel coordination, medical screenings, and immigration case management. FEMA records show they had been allocated $22 million last year, but the NGO says they've received none of that money. Jewish Family Service San Diego points the finger at President Trump, saying in part, quote, with migrants no longer able to use the CBP-1 application, the shelter has not received new families and individuals released from short-term federal custody.
It's amazing that it is what we have long said it was, just a political will issue. This is not something that cannot be done. We're overwhelmed by it. We chose to be overwhelmed by it. The previous administration chooses to be overwhelmed by it. New York State and Illinois and California, New Jersey choose to be overwhelmed by it. But if you apply the political will and the resources at the government's disposal in a way that is well within the bounds of the law, it's amazing what you can accomplish and how quickly you can accomplish it, isn't it?
But how selfish of all those politicians when you think of all the people who died. Jocelyn, Laken Riley, Chloe, Abram. People in Illinois and all over the country. That those politicians were so selfish. They were so worried about their job that they didn't care about our security. So shame on them.
Well, and some still don't. And this is where you have to get beyond Trump and provide a little bit of help where you live and where you worship. Because you have NGOs, some of which are affiliated with particular religions or particular churches, Catholic Charities, for example. And Christian pastors sort of across the, not across the political spectrum, but across the spectrum in terms of denomination and location. This op-ed from a Christian pastor in Denver. His name is Juan Pena. He is the pastor at Providence Bible Church. And he went to witness the ICE operation in Aurora, Colorado, to remove what they did, 100 Tren de Aragua members or suspected gang members. Tren de Aragua, the Venezuelan gang. International gang known for murder and human trafficking and drug trafficking and all the usual
just
things.
Just a few apartment buildings, Dan.
Right, but the reaction here, and this is something I suspect many people are exposed to right now, probably including you, Amy, at that cult that you call a church. This to give you an example of what Pastor Pena had to say. For 4 hours, families huddled in fear as ICE swept through their homes and neighborhood. I only saw them physically arrest one person. a young man who looked like a teenager, but on the ICE bus parked nearby, I could see at least 3 or 4 other detainees inside. Yeah, well, the reporting is more than 100. So
right,
yeah, they weren't just there to, with no basis. He goes on to write, though, this was not a response to an active shooter. There was no dangerous fugitive, really. Law enforcement wasn't chasing criminals or protecting the public. Instead, they carried out a military-style operation against families, wasting taxpayer resources that should be focused on real threats. The FBI, tasked with investigating violent crime, human trafficking, and national security risks, was instead deployed for this show of force. This was not just enforcement. It was purposeful, targeted intimidation. Raids like this are not about public safety. They are about sowing terror in immigrant communities, punishing people for seeking a better life, for working hard, for trying to provide for their children. Many of the families ICE targeted have been living here legally, building their lives, paying taxes, and contributing to the community. Others are still navigating a complicated and backlogged immigration system. And here we go. The Bible calls us to welcome the stranger and defend the vulnerable. As a pastor, I spent countless hours sitting with families who never wanted to leave their homes, but had no choice. They fled not only unimaginable violence, but also the crushing reality of being unable to feed their children or send them to school. I've seen the relief in their eyes when they finally feel safe, and now I've seen that relief shattered. The terror returning as armed federal agents storm their homes at dawn. Even if you do not share my faith, ask yourself, will we stand by as the federal government uses our taxpayer dollars to rip apart families and terrorize communities? Will we allow resources to be diverted from real threats so ICE can chase down parents and workers? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro. Answer line. Even if you don't share Pastor Juan Pena's faith, answer his question. Will you stand by as the federal government uses taxpayer dollars to rip apart families and terrorize communities? Will we allow resources to be diverted from real threats so ICE can chase down parents and workers? Because that's apparently what he contends ICE is doing. This is what you're getting from the pulpit or in op-ed pages by way of the pulpit all over the country. And from people that have a lot more profile than Pastor Juan Pena, like Rick Warren. And we'll get to Rick Warren.
Well, like at our church, we've been having, what do you call it? Just meetings on how to provide direct support to neighbors in need, Dan. Opportunities to organize around immigrant rights. You know, there's a meeting tonight actually this afternoon at Uplift Community High School with various alder people, Matt Martin, my alderman, blah, 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 to, know your rights training for community members.
Right. So, and then everybody, you got to raise your hand if you're willing to take in illegal immigrant criminals and hide them in your attic, and because there are modern day Anne Franks, they're going to tell you, right?
Right. Well, that's what, the governor of Connecticut did. So why shouldn't anybody else? But I reminded them kindly that this is what Obama did back when he was president. He deported actually more people, but he started with criminals. And where was all this prayer and these 22 separate prayers that we had for people here illegally and all this stuff in these community meetings? Like, what you didn't care back then, but you care now because it's Trump and because he's a Republican. So why don't you just admit that?
Yeah, this is apples and oranges as compared to what Obama did, but there's no question that there were people that were deported and that ICE operations, ERO, was active. They were up and running. It didn't have the backing, anything like the backing. It didn't have a Tom Homan in the Obama years, so it's not a real comparison. But yeah, I mean, their hypocrisy, of course they're hypocrites. But the question is, parishioners of churches like this, headed by pastors like Juan Pena or Rick Warren, the mega churches, or a couple of other ministers we'll introduce you to. I mean, it goes on in the Catholic Church, too. I mean, at the very top with Pope Francis, this is a time for people of faith to also speak out and say, actually, excuse me, Padre, you do not have the moral high ground on this. You're bastardizing Scripture, number one, which is apostasy. And number two, you don't understand the policy. And number three, you're misrepresenting what's happening. As you just heard what Juan Pena's words that I recounted, he is absolutely misrepresenting what ICE is doing, number one, what ICE did specifically in Aurora, Colorado, which is well documented. You would think he would have access to that, not just his, stilted sort of first-person account. I mean, there is no dispute. There is video evidence. There are people in custody who are affiliated with Tren de Aragua that essentially seize control of apartment buildings like the one he is referencing in Aurora, Colorado. So, I mean, you're wrong on so many fronts, but you have the title of pastor and you wear the cloth of clergy, and so you're going to get deference, and these people are not deserving of deference when it comes to these issues. The Trump and the federal government is not going alone is not going to win the day on this. The cultural piece of this is mission critical, particularly if you ever want places like Chicago or Illinois to not be sanctuary jurisdictions again.
Well, did the pastor in Aurora, Colorado, when he was at that raid, did he mention that they picked up weapons and fentanyl and other drugs? No, because it didn't fit the narrative, because he has to act like these are poor victims being torn away from their mom and dad, or, parents being separated, not only from their kids, but from each other. It's just a bunch of lies.
Kevin, West Side, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah, I still remember hearing from this pastor when they stormed a Christian's home for praying in front of an abortion clinic and took him away from his 7 kids.
Yeah, you never will. Thanks for the call, Kevin. You never will. You don't hear from Cardinal Cupich on it. You don't hear from Pope Francis on it. No, that's not an issue. That's an issue where they restate the church's position. I'm talking about Catholic Church, for example, in terms of being promoters of the sanctity of human life from conception to natural death. But when it comes to where they spend their political and rhetorical capital, right. Marvin in Burlington, Wisconsin, that is.
Yeah, good morning. I just got to tell you, as a Catholic who's trying to get back to the church and has been for years, every time I try to, they, hit me with something like this immigration thing. We had a pastor one time refer to God as he or she in the homily. And it's just,
in there.
Why do you ask your state? Why don't they ever ask themselves? You understand why you're losing people coming to church? They're not coming to church for politics. They're coming to church to try to, be better people. They have their feelings moderated and feel better about life and whatnot. And they hit you with this political crap. It makes you not want to go. It's so disappointing. It's just so it's heartbreaking in a way for me, really, being raised a Catholic and not wanting to go to church anymore because of the nonsense. You don't want to give them any money. You don't feel like you can't do right because of the positions they take. It's really a shame.
Yeah, it is. Thanks for the call, Marv. Well, you can come down to, not that you want to drive to Chicago from Burlington, Wisconsin, but there are like Catholic parishes that are not like this, and Christian parishes too, of course, that are not like this. St. John Cantius comes to mind in Bucktown, but unfortunately, the loudest voices within these organized religions tend to be some of the most political and ill-informed and disingenuous. It's a terrible combination of qualities.
I know, but I feel like I'm at my church to try and set them straight, or at least start a conversation. Somebody just texted in, Amy, why in the world do you go and fund a leftist church? Well, I've been there for almost 20 years now. I've had 5 different pastors. I love a lot of the parishioners. And, I just give them the other point of view. Like, I bring facts. Sometimes I show them articles. But this is what I do. So, and yes, it is political, and our church is packed. Because I usher, so the numbers since New Year's have gone way up.
Because it's not a religious institution; it's a political institution. Yeah. So this is a place to organize against Trump. These are not people of faith; these are political apparatchiks that believe the government is God, despite what Pastor Bonnie or whoever the hell says about
She's a bishop now, Dan.
Don't care. Despite what whoever your pastor says, the Almighty this, and you go through some of the motions. These are people who believe in government as God. And frankly, what they really believe in is their God. That's what they really believe. So if they want to have a conversation about that, not the nuances of immigration policy, which you'll never get to because they have no attention span for it and no interest in it. They are members of a cult. They just repeat what they've been told. They regurgitate. They don't think. They're barbarians. Not just your congregation, but so many of these. Sentimental barbarians. They are the personification of that term. Suzanne in Mount Prospect.
Yes, I was just thinking, I wonder how much about this is about faith from leadership and actually about money, and maybe the churches need to be doged.
Yeah. Well, nobody should be beyond reproach or examination. Mark, Oak Lawn.
Hey, Dan, thanks for taking my call. Hey, terrific information about the border with the 229 versus 11,000 with Biden. Well, you think about all the fentanyl and all the trafficking that Trump has stopped, because of his policies, and it's awesome. And I did want to mention, you brought up St. John Cantius and some of the other Catholic churches. The Catholic Church is split. Half of them follow the money. They're all interested in the money from the government, and once you're tied up with the government, the Catholic Church, forget about it. But there is about another half of them that really don't want to be tied in with the government. So you don't let that stop you from going to church just because there's a lot of bad actors in there.
Thanks for the call, Mark. Appreciate it. We're up against the clock, but I agree with you. We'll continue this conversation at 6:06.
But now into the newsroom we go. Here's Mike Scott.
The U.S. and Russia are talking. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. For the first time since the Ukraine invasion nearly 3 years ago, trying to find an end to the war, NATO leader Mark Rutte tells Fox,
we have to get to a deal which is strong. China is watching, others are watching, but it has to be strong and lasting and enduring.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio is leading the U.S. delegation in the talks with Russia in Saudi Arabia. Ukraine's not part of it. President Volodymyr Zelensky says he won't accept the peace deal if they are not involved.
The president's Ukraine envoy, Keith Kellogg, is also expected to meet with Zelensky in Ukraine this week. Kellogg says no one will impose a deal on a sovereign country, and also says regarding the ongoing meeting, it just was not possible or realistic to have everyone sitting at the table.
That's Fox's Madeline Rivera. Amid all the Trump federal worker layoffs and attempts to slash spending, the Department of Government Efficiency is working to get access to IRS tax systems. There are anti-Doge protests in several cities, and Elon Musk, who runs Doge, tells Fox's Hannity in an interview that'll run tonight.
They call it like Trump derangement syndrome, and you don't realize how real this is until you can't reason with people.
There are several legal challenges to Doge, one filed by Democrats in 14 states.
Federal Judge Tanya Chutkan heard arguments over Elon Musk and his Doge team's access to federal data. Chutkan did seem skeptical about the state's argument, explaining that for her to issue a temporary restraining order, there needs to be imminent harm. Critics worry because that system contains sensitive taxpayer information.
Fox's Mike Emanuel. Why? That's the big question in Toronto. The day after a Delta Connection flight flipped over when landing, coming in from Minneapolis. The wings were torn off, the passengers left dangling upside down. 18 were injured, but Toronto Airport CEO Deborah Flint says
there was no loss of life. And this is in due part to our heroic and trained professionals, our first responders.
In Kentucky's flooding disaster, it's up to 12 deaths now. America's listening to Fox News.
4 below zero, a wind chill of minus 14. At 6:02 on AM 560, The Answer. Good morning, everyone. I'm Mike Scott, and here are the top stories we're following on WIND Chicago. Bitter temperatures continue in the region. It's led health officials warning the public to take precautions. If you need a warming shelter, you should call 311. And if you do need a ride, the Salvation Army is ready to help.
The Shuttles of Hope is our crisis response team. They also do well-being checks for seniors and for other families in need. So if you're having any need, we encourage you to please dial 311.
That's Andrew Ward. A patient is accused of stabbing an ER doctor at Providence Hospital in Chicago. Police say the suspect allegedly approached the 56-year-old doctor with a sharp object, stabbing him in the chest. Another doctor was taken to the trauma center. Another staff member suffered minor injuries in the attack. A child died Monday afternoon after a drowning at a home in Bannockburn. Bannockburn police say it happened around 2 p.m. Deerfield Bannockburn Fire say they were sent to a home in the 1900 block of Illinois Route 22. Foul play is not suspected. Authorities have released the identity of a 6-year-old boy killed in a recent apartment fire on the north side. Cook County Medical Examiner's Office says Mylan Campbell died in the blaze Friday in the 2700 block of Granville Avenue. 2 firefighters were also taken to nearby hospitals in good condition. There's a new report this morning showing inflation in Chicago is impacting this area and the entire state. Citing Consumer Price Index metrics, WalletHub has found that Chicago has a bigger inflation problem than any other metropolitan area surveyed. WalletHub writer Chip Lupo said Chicago's CPI metrics changed 4.3% over the last year.
Unfortunately, the state of Illinois, pretty much how Chicago goes, the rest of the state goes. So if there's signs of economic strife in Chicago, it's going to pretty much trickle down in a bad way to the rest of the state.
And a bald eagle found dead in the Bussey Woods in Rolling Meadows likely died of the bird flu, according to officials with the forest preserves of Cook County, which say all indications from the lab show the bird's death was caused by avian influenza. The eagle was discovered on February 3rd. Chicago sports. Fighting Illini look to get back in the win column when they visit number 11 Wisconsin at the Kohl Center later tonight. Also in college hoops, Loyola visits Davidson and Northern Illinois is at Akron. The White Sox have a new reliever, the team claiming righty Owen White off waivers from the Yankees. The news service of Valdecas Windows for the discerning homeowner looking for high-quality and professional-level window replacement service. Contact Valdecas Windows, your award-winning Platinum Elite Pella-certified contractor. Visit Valdecas.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
On March 4th, President Trump will make his first address to a joint session of Congress of his new presidency.
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
And AM 560 The Answer is throwing a watch party, and you're invited to join us for dinner at the Meridian Banquets and Conference Center in Rolling Meadows. Enjoy dinner before the speech, and then watch the speech with AM 560's Dan Proft, Amy Jacobson, and Sean Thompson. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/watch. Sponsored in part by attorney Stephen A. Leahy at Opum Tax Advocates. Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage.
Come on with this, people. Move it!
Did you really think you could make that company delivery yourself?
Oh, I cannot handle any more traffic.
You could be getting much more done at your place of business.
I've wasted 45 minutes and now this place is gonna close.
Time is money. Let Quick Delivery Service take on the traffic hassle for you. They'll deliver almost anything, from large pallets of materials to important documents, or both. No forms, no labels, no scanning. Just tell Quick Delivery Service where it's going, they'll pick it up, and get it to your destination quickly. Your cargo delivery is tracked in real time with GPS. Notifications are delivered right to your inbox. Visit QuickDelivery.com. That's QuickDelivery.com. Or you can deliver like this.
Seriously, another train?
Or get your delivery there on time with QuickDelivery.com. Or call 847-534-2244. 847-534-2244.
Progressive presents Employee of the Month. Small Business Edition. Today's recipient from Lucky Larry's Landscaping, Larry! Larry saved his business money with a quick commercial auto quote from Progressive. Does it help he's his own marketing manager, accountant, executive assistant, and never been late? Technically, yes, but saving really put him over the edge. So, Larry, give Larry a round of applause. Be your own Larry. See if you could save in as little as 7 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated in the best hearing aids of 2024 by USA Today, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, just $189.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 500,000 happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
So, how's the separation going? Are you guys able to work things out?
No. I think we're headed for divorce.
That sucks. Gonna be an expensive legal battle?
Well, no, that's one thing we agree on, actually. Arbitration.
Arbitration? Like mediation?
Sort of, but better. We'll have a firm decision.
Oh, that's easier. Who's your arbitrator?
Bert Hochberg.
That attorney at Schiller, DeCanto, and Fleck?
Yeah, senior partner. Comes highly recommended.
Are you facing divorce or a family law issue? Burton S. Hochberg offers arbitration services, a dispute resolution process that will save you time, money, and the complexity of litigation. Let Burton hear and resolve your claims with choices that best suit you and yours. To discuss, call Bert directly. Or even better, have your attorney call Bert at 773-255-6150. That's 773-255-6150. Again, 773-255-6150.
No one knows arbitration like Bert Hochberg. Why go through a difficult divorce? Call Bert at Schiller, DeCanto, and Fleck, Chicago's preeminent family law firm since 1981.
6:09, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, and this update is service of almostfreeteeth.com. If you have a Blue Cross Blue Shield PPO or FEP, you could save 90% off on average to get your smile back. Learn more and check if you qualify at almostfreeteeth.com. Stop and go on the Ike this morning inbound between Des Plaines and East Avenue. Stop and go on DuSable Lakeshore Drive already northbound right at Bryn Mawr. And delays continue in Skokie, site of last week's water main break. Repairs continue on East Prairie at Church. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Here's Steve Williams.
Sun and clouds, very cold day today. We do have a cold weather advisory this morning. A high today at 11. Cloudy, brisk, very cold tonight with the low 0. Clouds and frigid, flurries tomorrow, the high 14. Sunny, cold day Thursday, the high at 21. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
4 below at O'Hare with a wind chill of minus 20. Your next news update, 6:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Continuing our conversation about faith in America. Thank you, I should say. What really prompted me to put this topic out for discussion was not an op-ed by a pastor in Denver demagoguing ICE. It was Tom Hanks on Saturday Night Live on Saturday night. Thanks, Tom.
Thanks. How you doing down now? Now, I heard a fellow could win some money here, and I know exactly who that is, the church lady.
Yes, that is correct, Doug. Thank you. That is the church lady. $400 for you.
Oh, well, thank you. Hey, now, speaking of church, can I say something? If more folks went to church, we wouldn't be in this mess we're in now.
You know what? I agree with you, Doug. I'd like to shake your hand, sir. Here we go.
No.
Oh, no. It's just a handshake. Yeah, it's just a handshake. Yeah, all right. You're welcome at Black Jeopardy anytime.
All right. Well, thank you, my brother. Maybe I'll start a show for you to come on, and we'll call it White Jeopardy.
No. We don't need it. Slow it down a little bit, Doug. All right. We're going to take a break. When we return to Black Jeopardy, we will see if anyone has...
Yeah, the old Black Jeopardy skit, and Tom Hanks wearing a MAGA hat, being the racist hayseed who won't shake the black man's hand because he's afraid of the black man, and then proposes white Jeopardy and so forth. That was to commemorate SNL's 50th anniversary.
312-642-5600 is our turnkey.pro text line or answer line. You could also text us on the same line.
So they want to ridicule that. I mean, multiple things are being ridiculed there, ham-handedly, of course, because it's SNL in 2025. But, more people went to church. The two mediating institutions, the two most important mediating institutions in a free society are what? Family, church.
Yeah.
So people are free to disagree with that. But if they're the two fundamental institutions of free society, then we should be thinking about them and their state. And both of those institutions are primarily outside of the reach of the government and should be. So it's going to be up to us as members of said institutions to ameliorate whatever needs improvement within the institutions. Does that logically follow? So how are we doing? It's a fair question. I know it's fun to sit on the sidelines and throw back ginger snaps and popcorn and just watch what's going on in Trump world, but what about what you're doing in your world?
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line.
Rick Warren, of course, is Mr. Purpose-Driven Life, Saddleback Church in California, mega church pastor. He tweeted out recently, John 19:18, they crucified Jesus with two others, one on each side and Jesus in the middle. That's the verse. Warren's comment, the guys on both sides were thieves. If you're looking for the hashtag real Jesus, not a caricature disfigured by partisan motivations, you'll find him in the middle, not on either side. I'm going to cede my time in response to this to Wade Stotts because it's the best commentary and the most entertaining one on Rick Warren I've ever heard, and it's the best commentary I've heard in response to that post from Rick Warren. Wade Stotts is a podcaster. He's got a sort of like a face-to-camera TV deal on X. Here's what he said. I mean, you get the image. So he's got the image of the crucifixion. If you're looking for the hashtag real Jesus, not a caricature disfigured by partisan motivations, you'll find him on the middle, not on either side.
So Jesus' crucifixion becomes a picture of political moderation. I see what he's saying, but if you want a picture of a guy trying to make two parties happy, you're looking at the wrong character. Notice that he didn't use a picture of the Transfiguration or the Road to Emmaus. What would our evangelical Robert Langdon say about those paintings? He would see the obvious stretch if someone said that Jesus sat down at the right hand of the Father, therefore you should agree with everything Roger Scruton wrote. But really, it's just a weird religious justification for centrism. The idea that you can add up the two-party platforms, divide by two, and ta-da, you've found the eternal way of Jesus. Now, there's a reason this sounds right. Aristotle talked about virtue being between two vices, excess and deficiency. Courage is a virtue, but too much courage is recklessness, and too little courage is cowardice. I'll let you draw your own conclusions about where Rick fits in there. And there are helpful sayings along these lines. There's a ditch on either side of the road. Too much of a good thing can be a bad thing. But this Rick Warren thing is something else. This is just another way of saying my politics are whatever's smack in the middle of the Overton window. It's a transparent attempt to avoid conflict. Saying you're in the middle is trying to make sure no one is mad at you. It's Rob Lowe in the NFL hat. It's a guy at the Civil War reenactment wearing a shrug emoji shirt. But let's say you're one of Rick Warren's congregants and you want to do what your pastor is telling you. He makes it sound simple, but it raises a lot of questions. For example, do I have to be in the center on every issue? Do I have to find the happy medium between being pro-abortion and anti-abortion? Or is it that for every right-wing belief I have to adopt a left-wing belief to make sure that all balances out? Or does it go beyond politics? I don't know if the earth is round or flat, so I'm going to believe it's shaped like an apple fritter. Then there's the time factor. Centrists want to act like they're above the times. I'm not into party politics. I'm in the middle. I'm into the eternal principles of Jesus. But for this kind of person, their beliefs are defined by whatever's going on around them at the moment. The American political center in 2025 is very different from 1925, which is very different from 1825. A centrist now would be a revolutionary lunatic then. And the closer you get to today, the further left that center is. Funny how that works. So when did the true center arrive? Maybe around 2008? Now let's move around the map a bit. What's the political center in China today? How about in Mao's China or the Ming Dynasty? What do you do when there's only one political party? Here's Curtis Yarvin writing in 2007. Moderation is not an ideology. It is not an opinion. It is not a thought. It is an absence of thought. If you believe the status quo of 2007 is basically righteous, then you should believe the same thing if a time machine transported you to Vienna in 1907. But if you went around Vienna in 1907 saying that there should be a European Union, that Africans and Arabs should rule their own countries and even colonize Europe, that any form of government except parliamentary democracy is evil, that paper money is good for business, that all doctors should work for the state, etc., etc., well, you could probably find people who agreed with you. They wouldn't call themselves moderates, and nor would anyone else. Maybe the centrists would answer that it's not limited to time and place. But in that case, is Christian political faithfulness a mix of every political belief ever? To be a true Christian, do I need to plot out every belief anyone's ever had and figure out where the middle is? But really, it's nowhere near that complicated. In practice, the center is wherever the most powerful institutions say it is right now. Being a centrist means being a thermometer for power.
Being a centrist means being a thermometer for power. That is a great line. And it's applicable not just to Rick Warren, but to all of those people who, as Stotts said, pretend to rise above the times in which they live and do this. You know, I'm not on either side. I'm squarely in the middle. I'm, sort of post-partisan. I look for common ground. And even as the common ground is always, or the middle ground is always shifting left, particularly in the last 60 to 100 years.
Right, but to suggest Jesus was a centrist too is offensive to a lot of people.
The whole centrist posturing is a lie. It's predicated on nothing, and you just heard a nice dissembling of it by Stotts there. What does exactly that mean? You either come from a place of certain principles and then your policy choices are expressions of those, or you don't, or you're just a man who is a thermometer for power, for where the power center is. That's exactly right. By the way,
Rick Warren is trying to walk it back. I mean, he wrote, "I apologize. I wrote poorly. I don't believe Jesus was a centrist. He stands far above it all."
Yeah.
Jesus demands our total allegiance as the center of our lives.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's nice damage control, but I'm really not buying it. Because as Wade Stotts said, Rick Warren, I mean, this is more of a commentary on Rick Warren writ large, which I agree with. If you ever read Purpose Driven Life, it's basically like life's little instruction book with like a Christian overlay. Okay. It's not wonderful or hefty intellectually or theologically. But Stotts said of Rick Warren, Rick Warren is what Applebee's would be if it was a person. It's unoffensive. It's fine. I don't hate it. I don't love it. And by the way, this is important because Rick Warren has a massive following, and a lot of church leaders have sizable followings. They have congregations, they have flocks, they have parishioners, so they have influence. And when they behave like men without chests, like Rick Warren did in this instance, that needs to be addressed. If you care about this meeting institution called the church.
Got a great text message. He blatantly twisted scripture to virtue signal to the demonic.
Here's another one. I mean, and this is just, again, these are not churches. They're local Politburo meetings pretending to be churches. United Church of Christ pastor. This is a doozy.
I don't know.
I mean, it's very much, these ministers we've gone through over the years before, they're promoting abortion from the pulpit and so forth. United Church of Christ minister Pat Langlois on the resurrection She's from Los Angeles. I'm sure that will come as a real surprise once you hear this.
And we were asked the question about the resurrection. And the question was, did the resurrection actually physically happen? And if it didn't or did, what does that do to your faith?
What?
Well, I raised my hand. So for me, I said, well, do I think that it could have happened and did happen? I believe so, because I think God's big enough and has the ability to, and I feel it probably did. But if I'm to be, scientific or realistic, I don't know. And I say that because there's no, quote, proof, right? There's no, quote, proof. Did it really happen, right? Did Jesus physically, wake up and, Starbucks coffee was on? And so what happened? Did Jesus really raise from the dead? I don't know. But I'm going to tell you this. If Jesus didn't physically raise from the dead and ascend, it doesn't change a thing about my love of God and Christ and Christianity. You know why? Because I truly believe in my heart of hearts that my faith, our faith, is a resurrection faith. Amen? I know. Here, come to Easter service and hear a heretical sermon. You are in the right place. That's right. Right?
Ugh. Doesn't matter. This is the point here. This is just about whether it's politics or the tenets of a particular faith. But, if you don't feel like it, it's fine. It's, the cafeteria Catholic. If you don't really support the sanctity of life, it's okay. That's whatever. If you don't really believe in the resurrection, it's fine. It's whatever. It doesn't change anything. It doesn't. Boy, if only there were a place that Pastor Lang-Lois could go to find an answer to that question about the importance of the resurrection. If only there was some place. Oh, there is. It's called the Bible. 1 Corinthians. And if Christ is not risen, this is the Apostle Paul, and if Christ is not risen, then our preaching is empty, and your faith is also empty. Yes, and we are found false witnesses of God, because we have testified of God that he raised up Christ, whom he did not raise up, if in fact the dead do not rise. For if the dead do not rise, then Christ is not risen, and if Christ is not risen, your faith is futile, you are still in your sins. Yeah, it turns out it is sort of important. It isn't a whatever. But if you can't trust your pastor, priest, to be on the ball when it comes to Scripture, when it comes to the tenets of the faith, then where is exactly that person is leading you? Troy in St. John, Indiana.
Hey, good morning, Dan. Regarding the connection between religion and government, when I tell friends and family that the left is Marxist, specifically the way they attack religion, if you think about it, every law that we have has some connection to those 10 Commandments. So when they systemically seek to undermine religion, they're trying to remove the basis of morality. And that's pure Marxism right there.
Yep. That's why Marx said that religion was the opiate of the masses, and he wanted to replace religion with government as the opiate of the masses. Yeah. Yeah, he was onto something, and he understood it, the dynamic. He understood religion, churches as meeting institutions that needed to be taken apart. It's too bad so many congregants of various faiths do not. Oh, and it's not all going on right now. Of course, in black churches, where they don't have any of the hang-ups in talking politics from the pulpit that white churches do, and the cowardly pastors in, not that churches are black and white, but you know what I'm saying, majority black churches in majority black neighborhoods in big cities, largely not limited, but big cities, and majority honky parishes in the leafy suburbs that are majority honky. You get what I'm saying. Catholic churches are, except for Father Flagers, very, very weird. We got to protect our 501c3 status, so we can't, express our faith too loudly, and we certainly can't apply it to real world salient issues of the day. No. Meanwhile, no such hang-ups in other houses of worship. So what's going on in some of those houses of worship in the last several weeks since Trump took office, since they're less afraid? Well, here's a sermon that went viral last week. Chattanooga pastor Steve Caudle on Elon Musk, of all things.
And in this nation, I'm worried that we are on the verge of bloodshed. This is an attempt to take us back to a day that we do not want to go, and we will not go. So therefore, there will be conflict. I pray that the peace of God will win out and overcome the madness that is attempting to take over this nation. And I will say to you, beloved, no one likes violence, but sometimes violence is necessary.
Oh, that's nice.
When Elon Musk forces his way into the United States Treasury and threatens to steal your personal information and your Social Security check, there is the possibility of violence. Sometimes the devil will act so ugly that you have no other choice but to get violent and fight. Gosh. Well, someone might say, now, Reverend, you shouldn't be talking about violence. This isn't the Christian thing to do. Well, I will say, why not talk this way? Because Jesus did. Jesus said in this key verse, didn't he? The kingdom of heaven suffers what? Violence. And the who? The violent take it by force. The kingdom of God is a war zone. It is a battlefield. You did know this, right?
Jamal Bryant is a mega church pastor in Atlanta.
Come on, Public Enemy. I came to tell white supremacists. I came to tell MAGA. I came to tell white privilege. We coming, we coming, we coming. We coming, we coming. God said, when you give me glory, I'm going to run them out of the State Department. If you give me glory, I'm going to run them out of Congress and run them out of Senate. If you give me glory, I'm going to run them off of your job and run them off of your classroom. I need you to take your neighbor's hand and say, neighbor, we got to shout like we got faith.
Okay, he does a great Reverend Brown impersonation from Coming to America, but the white supremacist MAGA rap.
It's getting old.
It was apparently not. Apparently, it's not getting old for everybody.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
And that's the problem. And so again, black, white, Latino, whatever, Christian, Catholic, Jewish, Muslim, whatever. You may want to pay attention to something that most of us concede is one of the two most important mediating institutions in a free society if you want it to be free. We just listened to J.D. Vance dress down European nations over basically the norms of a free society. They're enshrined in our Constitution. They're not enshrined everywhere. He focused on freedom of expression. Freedom of conscience is no less important. That's why it's included in the First Amendment right there with free speech. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
I had the worst dream last night. You were in a car crash, and the kids and I were on our own. We had to move out of the house because I couldn't afford it anymore.
That's awful, hon.
My brother was saying he got life insurance from Ethos. With Ethos, it only took 10 minutes, and he got $2 million in coverage for around $2 a day. It's all online. No medical exam. He just answered a few health questions right from his house.
Ethos, here we come.
Visit GetEthos.com. That's GetEthos.com.
Sample rate is a 10-year term life policy for 35-year-old healthy, non-smoking male. Billed monthly.
Hi, I'm Michael
Michael Alfaro, host of The Michael Alfaro Show. Join me each week as we tackle the issues you want to know more about, like foreign and national policies, how big money influences Washington, D.C., and so much more. Learn firsthand from elected officials and political insiders about the important policy decisions changing our world. Find me at michaelalfaroshow.com and then join me, Michael Alfaro, every Saturday evening at 7, right here on AM 560, The Answer.
Enjoy uninterrupted programming from Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson around the clock, all day, every day, including daily replays of Chicago's Morning Answer on Dan and Amy 24/7. Listen now at danandamy247.com. AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 6:36, when it comes to the work of DOJ, transparency is a means, not an end. So how do we get to the end? We'll talk to William Edwards about that, 6:36.
But now into the newsroom we go. Here is Mike Scott.
6:33, 5 below zero. And here in Chicago, we're watching the U.S. hold talks with Russia over ending the war in Ukraine.
Today, Secretary of State Marco Rubio arrived in Saudi Arabia to meet the Russian side. On Sunday, President Trump said he'll be joining the process soon, meeting directly with Russian President Vladimir Putin.
Secretary of State Rubio is part of that delegation, and they are meeting this morning. The Transportation Safety Board of Canada leading the investigation into a plane crash at a Toronto airport Monday that left 18 injured. Toronto Pearson Airport President and CEO Deborah Flynn.
We are very grateful that there was no loss of life and relatively minor injuries.
Local paramedic supervisor Lauren Sadin.
We've had one child that was taken by land ambulance to one of our sick kids hospitals in downtown Toronto. We've had another patient airlifted to a trauma center we have in Toronto, and the rest of our injuries are mild to moderate, with most of them being able to walk on their own.
The U.S. NTSB is sending a team to help the Canadian team investigate the crash. The regional Delta Airlines flight was arriving from Minneapolis. The top official currently at the Social Security Administration is stepping down after a disagreement with the Department of Government Efficiency. Michelle King resigned after trying to refuse a request from DOJ to access some government records at the agency. We're finding out in Washington that British Prime Minister Keir Starmer will visit Washington, D.C. next week. The trip will include his first in-person meeting with President Trump. Bitter temperatures continue in the region. This has health officials warning the public to take precautions against any cold weather-related conditions and to call 311 for help. A child died Monday afternoon after a drowning at a home in Bannockburn, where police say it happened around 2 p.m. when Deerfield and Bannockburn Fire were sent to a home in the 1900 block of Illinois Route 22. Chicago Teachers Union President Stacey Davis Gates faces a serious challenge from within her own ranks.
Our leadership has been prioritizing politics over the rank and file needs and our daily struggles.
The Rio Caucus is led by Erica Meza, and the group charges current leadership has no classroom experience. The caucus wants to take a look at CTU finances. Union elections happen on May 16. The Bulls prepping for the second half. They take on the Knicks Thursday at MSG. The Fighting Illini tonight trying to get back in the win column when they visit number 11 Wisconsin at the Kohl Center. Also tonight in the A-10, Loyola will visit Davidson. The News is a service of the Chicago Wolves. Join the Wolves for Faith and Fellowship Saturday night against the Iowa Wild. Stay for the postgame as Wolves forward Josiah Slavin shares stories about his faith. Tickets are available at Ticketmaster.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Charlie Kirk sees a president with a backbone.
If Colombia was willing to risk their entire economy over a couple dozen migrants, That shows you how dangerous these people actually are. Gustavo Petro, the socialist who runs Colombia, is upset that he now has to take care of his own people. Guess what? Playtime is over.
The Charlie Kirk Show. Afternoons at 1, right before Hugh Hewitt at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
If you own or run a business and you listen to AM 560, you might not realize that the conservative programming that you enjoy is supported by advertisers. Our loyal listeners love to do business with the advertisers they hear every day on AM 560. Now, it probably won't surprise you that there are some businesses who avoid advertising with us because they don't like what we do here. And that's okay, because our audience wants to support businesses that support what we do and think like we think. We would love to have you join the list of successful companies who are already reaching new, like-minded customers. Most AM 560 advertisers have been here for years for one simple reason: they get results. Join our efforts to make a difference in the lives of our listeners who are passionate about supporting our great family of AM 560 advertisers. To learn more, just visit 560theanswer.com/advertise. That's 560theanswer.com/advertise.
The fight against abortion in Illinois has never been more important than it is right now. Thanks to our elected officials, Illinois has become an abortion tourism destination. The number of abortions in our state continues to grow, despite the fact that crisis pregnancy centers outnumber abortion clinics almost 3 to 1. Now, thanks to a new effort by Caring Network, it's possible to reach abortion-minded women, to provide peace of mind and security to help them choose life. This new Reach Her First initiative seeks to provide women with the assurance and information they need before they choose an abortion. But Caring Network needs your help to reach women who are considering abortion. For a one-time gift of just $150, you can help reach 5 women and help them choose life. That's all it takes to prevent an abortion. To make that gift, just go to 560theanswer.com/caring. That's 560theanswer.com/caring.
Attention. If you or your business is behind in filing your tax returns, or if you owe over $20,000 in back taxes to the IRS, please listen carefully. Going back and forth with the IRS can be stressful and confusing. The IRS doesn't joke around and will not stop their collection efforts. Don't let other companies charge you to pull transcripts. BC Tax will discreetly obtain your IRS transcripts free of charge. So, if you're tired of the IRS letters and would like to get a fresh start, BC Tax can help. Our team of tax professionals are making it easier than ever to settle tax problems for those who owe more than $20,000. We've helped thousands just like you. Call 800-214-3995 today to stop your tax problem from getting worse. Call 800-214-3995. That's 800-214-3995. Again, 800-214-3995.
Hair Volume is the best-selling hair tablet in the world and one of many award-winning natural hair products from New Nordic. Purchase at newnordicusa.com or CVS.
6:40 Team Hochberg Traffic Center time is a service of Rocket. If you feel like owning a home is out of reach, Rocket is here to give you back the keys because they believe everyone deserves a shot at the American dream. Visit rocket.com or call 800-4ROCKET. Kennedy, 30 minutes O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Ike inbound, 50 minutes in from as you're traveling inbound into the old post office. An earlier stall between Manheim and First Avenue. Causing problems, and DuSable Lakeshore Drive northbound between Bryn Mawr and Hollywood. There are delays. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560. Weather Center forecast. Very cold, sun through high clouds, high of 11. Becoming cloudy, brisk, and very cold overnight, low 0. Cloudy, frigid flurries, and 14 tomorrow. Partly cloudy, -5 at O'Hare with a wind chill right now of -23. Your next news update is at 7. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Interesting comment from Tim Burchett. He's a Republican congressman from Tennessee on what he anticipates Doge will find as Doge continues to dig in.
I think you're going to see a paper trail come back to Washington, D.C., and that's why I think a lot of people are nervous, and you'll see a lot of retirements because they are stealing from the American taxpayer, and now they've got their hand caught in the cookie jar, and all they can do is attack Elon Musk.
We'll see. I mean, I'm not just misallocation of funds or spending money in places that if the American people knew, they wouldn't be too pleased, but actually stealing money, actually embezzling money from taxpayers. Well, we'll see. We'll see.
It's a bold statement.
It is. I mean, other people suspect as much. When you have trillions of dollars sloshing around, it wouldn't come as a surprise if some people found it irresistible to figure a way to navigate some of those dollars into their pockets illicitly. John Fetterman, Senator Slingblade, had this to say about Elon Musk. I want to save billions of your money and make our government more efficient. Rummaging through your personal blank is not that. A party of chaos loses always. Citing a political story, possible Doge access to private taxpayer data sparks outcry. Musk responding to Senator Slingblade, by the way, who's not some erstwhile ally of the center right or conservatives or the Trump administration, just because he voted up a cabinet secretary or two and he supports Israel's right to exist. He's a hack. What again? The sort of Republican center right fascination with seeing things for how they're not when it comes to leftists that are trying to get the left to be better at being the left in terms of their electoral success. Bill Maher comes to mind as another such example. Contain your enthusiasm. Anyway, Musk responding to Fetterman, bruh. If I wanted to rummage through random personal blank, I could have done that at PayPal. Hello? Having tens of millions of people marked in Social Security as alive when they are definitely dead is a huge problem. Obviously, some of these people would have been alive before America existed as a country.
Right.
Think about it for a second. He's got people that are apparently in Social Security roles. In the following age ranges.
Okay, this is great. And you know these people didn't Botox, but yes, go on. What are their ages? 360
to 369 years old, there is one. 240 to 249, there's one. 220 to 229, there's more than 1,000. 210 to 219, there's 866. And on down the line. When you get into the hundreds...
It's pretty deep. I like 100 to 199 with 448 people. It's a good age group.
100.
I mean, it's all, no. I'm just. It's all
190 to 199.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. But I mean, like, people. I mean, who knew? 140 to 149 years old. There's 3.5 million people in America that are over 140.
I bet they take Balance of Nature.
There's probably they're on some sort of regimen.
And I tweeted out how many of these people are registered to vote. You know, I don't know. It's just all a hot mess. And Michael Steele, yes, RNC chairman 14 years ago. Oh, he laid it. You know, he's unhinged.
They got your data, dog. They got all your stuff. Elon Musk has his tentacles in everything you're doing, and nobody seems to give a damn. So that's all I want, somebody to show that they care enough to get off their fat and say something about it.
Yeah, right. That's so wonderful. Bravo.
Thank you. Yay.
So, I mean, unglued is their resting state. And so this is what they're currently unglued about. I mean, of course you know they're unglued about it. They got protest songs. Here's another one yesterday.
Oh, no.
They keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. never turning back. Trump is not a king.
Trump is not a king.
Trump is not a king.
Sing it, lady.
Trump is not a king. Never turning back. Never turning back.
Mandate is a lie.
Stop the fascists now.
Oh, stop the fascists now. Sure, yeah, I got them misordered.
Stop the fascists now.
Sing along, everybody.
Stop the fascists now. Never turning back. Never turning back.
The mandate is a lie?
Mandate is a lie.
Yeah, there it is.
There you go. Thank you, Dan.
Mandate is a lie. Mandate is a lie.
Are we ever turning back? No, I didn't think so. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I could listen to that all day. Actually, that guy does have some pipes. I think it's a guy.
No, that's a woman, isn't it? Well,
no, I don't know. I think it's a dude. It doesn't matter. I mean, who knows what these things are anymore? Who knows what a woman is? Certainly not Ketanji Brown Jackson. By the way, just in terms of all the hysteria surrounding Elon Musk and his tentacles and everything, and Michael Steele being very concerned about your personal data, it's interesting that Tanya Chutkin, not exactly a President Trump fan, you know, she presided over the federal district court judge who presided over the Trump election interference case. Mm-hmm. She is unwilling to intercede and stop the Doge boys from doing their work. It's not federal government hasn't, or the state's attorneys general have not presented enough evidence to convince Tanya Chutkin, Obama appointee, to provide injunctive relief. Just a point of order to Michael Steele and the rest of the MSNBC cast. For more on all of this, we're pleased to be joined by, I was about to say Adam Mill, but he has come out of the shadows and he is not using his nom de plume. William Edwards joins us to talk about Doge. Just a quick backgrounder. William Edwards was an attorney for a federal agency where he specializes in, is an attorney for a federal agency, I guess, where he specializes in employment law and government. 20 years insider experience observing the best and worst of government performance. I'm interested in that. William Edwards, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan and Amy. I'm so glad to be here.
So you're still an attorney for a federal agency?
I've worked in the private sector, but right now I do work for a federal agency. I've done a number of jobs. I've worked in the newspapers and all kinds of different places. And I got to talking to a good friend of mine, Charles Lipson, who's a professor at Harvard, and he's just a phenomenal intellect. And we got to talking about how agencies get more money the harder they fail. I mean, if you think about the great failures in intelligence and law enforcement over the last several decades, FEMA after Hurricane Katrina, the Pentagon after September 11th, the FBI and the DOJ after Russia collusion hoax, what happens to their budget? They go up. And the bigger the failure, the more they go up. So why does that happen? I mean, is that because Congress likes failure? I mean, we can say a lot of bad things about Congress, but I don't even think Democrats want these agencies to fail. Is it because the voters demand that their agencies are bloated monstrosities? And I think the best way to look at this is kind of the way Mike Benz looks at it, is these agencies kind of become their own life forms. He calls it the blob. And the blob responds to incentives. Even if every single federal employee tries to fight the blob wins. And so what happens is the government likes monopolies. These agencies like monopolies. If they get a monopoly over a function, then they can threaten Congress when they fail that they'll fail harder if they don't get more money. And I just want to illustrate this with kind of an example. You have probably, 1,500 Starbucks in Chicago, right?
Yeah.
There's one across the street from every other constituent. Imagine if the government took over Starbucks in Chicago. What would the first thing they would do? The first thing they would do is they would close all of these redundant, wasteful stores, and they would centralize the function to a big, giant Starbucks. And when you want to go get coffee, you go walk into this giant Starbucks centralized building. You'd start on the first floor, and you'd get your cup, and you go to the second floor, and you'd get your hot water. And you go to the third floor, you'd have to put your cup in a microwave because the water would have cooled off. And then there'd be one flavor of coffee, and you'd have to wait in line at every stage. And to the government, to the agency, this is all efficient because they're spending as little on providing the service as possible, and they've centralized the functions and closed all of these redundancies. So what I'm saying, and what Charles and I are saying together, is we need to take a look at these monopolies, and we need to challenge and push back on the idea that just because something's a government agency, that it needs to be a monopoly. And I go back to my time when I worked for the Corps of Engineers. We had two kinds of clients. We had captured clients. That's like the Army. They had to work with us. And then we had the people who had a choice, like the Air Force. They could go to their own people or they could come to us. Well, who do you think had the best results in their projects? The best project managers, the best budget outcomes, the best quality outcomes? It was the Air Force, because we would always staff the Air Force projects with the better staff because they were not a captured customer. So, yes, so 90% of what the government does is workers serving other workers. So it's maybe 5% of the workforce actually touches the public. The rest of them, we're all cutting each other's hair. We have an internal legal department, we have an internal HR department, and somebody's moving the money around. And they're all performing these services, and they all thrive on complexity, because the more complex it gets, the bigger it gets, the bigger their empire gets. It's not even something people intend. It's just the entropy of the system. But what if we had like 3 HRs, and a manager was hiring someone, 3 small HRs instead of one big giant Starbucks type thing in the middle of the agency? If the manager could choose which HR to go to, he'll pick the fastest one. He'll pick the best one. What if we have 3 legal departments? And, instead of the lawyers basically running organizations because they have a monopoly on the legal services, what if the manager could get a second opinion or even a third opinion? So the idea is called competitive redundancy. So when you hear redundancy, people think inefficiency, but you should think choice. You should think competition. When you look for ways to actually increase the redundancies and push decentralization back down to smaller levels. And I do get a little concerned when DOGE talks about eliminating redundancies and consolidating things. Consolidation is how these agencies get monopolies. Think about DHS or, when DHS centralized all those functions, did we get better service? When the director of national intelligence centralized all the intelligence community, did we get, didn't that insulate the president from dissenting opinions? And we've had some intelligence failures since DNI has come about.
Well, the only thing I'd say about that is competitive redundancy. I'm sort of open-minded. I know what you're saying, but it has to start with the predicate question of, is this something government should be in the business of doing, period? Because, of course, public choice theory helps us understand why government is just intrinsically less efficient than the private sector, because there is no bottom line sensitivity and people don't spend other people's money as judiciously as they spend their own.
Right. So that's exactly what Elon Musk says. Before we go about fixing something or making it more efficient, we should first ask whether that function should even be done at all. Deletion is sometimes the most efficient choice. But if we do decide a function is important, and we just rely on one monopoly to perform that function, for these agencies that are monopolies, failure is their business model. They make more money when they fail. So they don't do it on purpose. But the organizational dynamics create a very fragile system that is prone to failure and very difficult to investigate. It's just much better. The system's more stable if you have choices in the system. Think about how many ways we have to pay for things. You have Venmo, you have cash. And if the system ever centralized into a single form of payment controlled by the government, like imagine if it was just digital currency controlled by the government. There's no barter, no cash, no anything. Our economy would crash to zero. The redundancy is what makes it stable. And the redundancy is what makes it competitive and makes it cheap. So I think a little bit more redundancy and a little bit more competition in the government would go a long way to help out what Mr. Musk is trying to accomplish, which I fully support.
William Edwards, attorney for a federal agency where he specializes in employment law and procurement, 20 years insider experience observing the best and worst of government performance. Check out his piece, DOGE Will Only Work When Government Agencies Compete, as he was explaining. That's at The Spectator. William Edwards, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. All the best.
Thank you. Excuse me. He joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper. Hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Chicagoland certified financial planning professional Tim Stearns discusses taxes in retirement.
Most people are paying more in taxes and keeping less of their money to live and do what they enjoy. That's why we've put out the Retirement Tax Bill Calculator online. You can see with your own eyes just how much you might be overpaying. It's a valuable tool, $500 value, but we made it free for you to view and run your own numbers at MVPCFP.com. That's MVPCFP.com.
To run your retirement tax bill calculator, go to MVPCFP.com.
Investment advisory services offered through Cornerstone Securities, LLC.
AM 560, The Answer.
That sound means it's time for our weekly installment of In-Depth History with Frank, the history teacher from Arlington Heights, because there's nothing new in this world, just the history we don't know, and Frank does. Frank, take it away.
Good morning. Ancient Egyptian history is often broken into three periods, the Old, Middle, and New Kingdoms. In each of these, a bureaucracy developed. But it was in the New Kingdom, which started around 1550 BC, that it became so entrenched that the pharaoh was considerably weakened. This was partly due to the riches of being an empire, as several of the first pharaohs of the 18th dynasty expanded beyond Egypt's traditional boundaries, controlling much of the Levant. It was the pharaoh Amun-hotep IV, who came to power in 1353 BC, that decided to do something about it. Among his moves was the changing of his name to Akhenaten, reflecting his changing of the official religion from polytheism to a monotheism focusing on the sun disk god, Aten. This, along with the moving of the capital from Thebes to his new city, Amarna, led to a weakening of priestly and bureaucratic power, as those who managed the old god's temples were now on the outs. This was later reversed upon his death, as his son, Tutankhamun, was first manipulated and then murdered by his father's enemies. Bureaucracies can be hard to root out. Diocletian split the Roman Empire into east and west to make it easier to manage. Constantine later moved the capital to the city that once bore his name. Charlemagne created counties led by counts, who communicated with him through the missi, or messengers. But it was the Byzantines whose bureaucrats were unmatched in tenacity as they maintained their prerogatives until 1453 in the face of hostile Seljuk and Ottoman advances. President Trump is attempting to radically reform our own rancid, unelected fourth branch of government. This is the greatest of his challenges, as history tells us bureaucracies tend to bleed their hosts dry.
And thus the description of the federal government as a Byzantine bureaucracy. Yes.
For sure. Doge is almost like Charlemagne's Missy, trying to see what's going on with the counts. And I think every county board president should have to dress like the Count from Sesame Street. 1, 2, 3, we take your money.
I like that, and it's a very good Count impersonation, too, on top of it. Nicely done. Frank, thank you as always. Appreciate it.
Have a good week.
You too. Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
We got all kinds of good stuff coming up, including checking in with Ted Dabrowski and all things Illinois politics at the bottom of the 7 o'clock hour.
But now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
Health officials warning, take precautions in the frigid cold. Provident Hospital ER doc stabbed by a patient. A man charged in a fatal DUI crash of a Glenview police officer. Child drowns in Bannockburn. The death of a bald eagle in Bussey Woods, likely the bird flu. Bulls preparing for the next. The Illini visit Wisconsin, and tonight Loyola visits Davidson. WIND Chicago News Time is 7 o'clock.
They're done talking. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. U.S. and Russian diplomats gathered in Saudi Arabia to look for a way to end the war in Ukraine. The State Department spokesman says they've agreed to work on addressing problems in the U.S.-Russia relationship, but no date's been set for President Trump to meet with Russian leader Vladimir Putin. Republican Senator Tom Cotton just told Fox the last president's to blame.
I think the reality on the ground in Ukraine is that Joe Biden left the world with a terrible mess. His weakness tempted Putin to invade in the first place. He pussyfooted around for 3 years.
Now, Ukraine was not part of today's talks. Its president says he won't agree to any peace deal that Ukraine's not part of. 18 people are recovering in Toronto after a flightmare. The Delta Connection plane flying in from Minneapolis with 80 people on board.
Crash landing and then rolling belly up on the runway. People described hanging like bats and then getting themselves free from their seatbelts and standing on what is normally the ceiling.
Fox's Nate Foy in Toronto. Nobody died. Strong winds may have been a factor in the crash. More people have died in Kentucky's flood disaster. It's up to 12 now. Somebody also killed in West Virginia. Parts of Tennessee also underwater. This woman's apartment got flooded in Clarksville, and she does not have insurance.
I won't get anything to recover anything that I lost, and I've lost everything.
The anti-Doge protests are growing, denouncing Elon Musk and the Department of Government Efficiency.
Hey, hey, ho, ho.
Now, that was in Tampa and Washington yesterday, and while there are legal challenges aiming to stop Doge pending,
Doge is still working to access IRS data. We understand that access is imminent. It would allow Doge employees with the appropriate clearances and approvals to comb through tightly controlled files that include bank records and other taxpayer information, but critics are warning that any mistakes in this database could potentially have disruptions to the tax filing system.
Jackie Heinrich at the White House. America's listening to Fox News.
5 below zero, a wind chill this morning of minus 23, officially at O'Hare at 7:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning, I'm Mike Scott. Here are the stories we're following in Chicago. Bitter temperatures continue in the region. It's led to health officials warning the public to take precautions against cold-related conditions like hypothermia and frostbite. A patient accused of stabbing an ER doc at Provident Hospital in Chicago. Police tell us the suspect approached a 56-year-old doctor with a sharp object, stabbing him in the chest. The suspect was immediately taken into custody. The suspect's name is being withheld pending charges. A man is in critical condition after a shooting in Chicago's Rogers Park neighborhood. The 28-year-old was sitting in a parked vehicle in the 1300 block of West Estes Avenue yesterday when he was shot. Chicago Teachers Union President Stacey Davis Gates facing a serious challenge from within her own ranks.
Our leadership has been prioritizing politics over the rank and file needs and our daily struggles.
The Real Caucus is led by Erica Meza, 25 years in the classroom as an educator, and her group is fielding a full slate of candidates challenging current leadership, including Stacey Davis Gates, in union elections on May 16. Members of the Illinois Democrat delegation in Congress gathered Monday to rail against the Trump administration's layoffs and reductions in federal spending.
Well, it's a cold day in Illinois, but I can tell you we will fight till hell freezes over.
That's Congressman Danny Davis. Lawmakers allege cuts to social safety programs. The administration has repeatedly challenged Democrat talking points, saying there are no reductions happening to key social safety net programs. Chicago sports. Bulls preparing for the Knicks on Thursday, while the Illini visit number 11 Wisconsin tonight. And in the A-10, it's Loyola visiting Davidson. The news, a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. What if you could save 90% off on average to get your smile back? Learn more. Check if you qualify. AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
On March 4th, President Trump will make his first address to a joint session of Congress of his new presidency.
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
And AM 560 The Answer is throwing a watch party, and you're invited to join us for dinner at the Meridian Banquets and Conference Center in Rolling Meadows. Enjoy dinner before the speech, and then watch the speech with AM 560's Dan Proft, Amy Jacobson, and Sean Thompson. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/watch. Sponsored in part by attorney Stephen A. Leahy at Opum Tax Advocates.
Wow. Are you buying or are you selling? As this is being written, silver is up more than 50% in just the past 8 months. And gold is the highest it's ever been. Whether you are just getting into the metals, want to roll your IRA into silver or gold, or want to take some profits off the table, Fox Valley Coins is ready, willing, and able to help. Even though Fox Valley Coins is a national dealer, they're family-owned and in your own backyard. Fox Valley Coins in Naperville almost always has the product you want in stock and pretty much always has the best pricing when you buy or sell. Buying or selling is easy. Bring your items in. We'll establish the price and pay you cash or check on the spot. Why wait to move your assets around? Did you know that Fox Valley Coins has sold over 3,000 one-ounce silver Donald Trump coins? We have several designs, but they're going fast. Fox Valley Coins on Route 59 in Naperville. Family-owned integrity since 1981.
Progressive presents Employee of the Month. Small Business Edition. Today's recipient from Lucky Larry's Landscaping, Larry! Larry saved his business money with a quick commercial auto quote from Progressive. Does it help he's his own marketing manager, accountant, executive assistant, and never been late? Technically, yes, but saving really put him over the edge. So, Larry, give Larry a round of applause. Be your own Larry. See if you could save in as little as 7 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated in the best hearing aids of 2024 by USA Today, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, just $189.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 500,000 happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
I think one of the things that patients don't realize is that when they get a joint replacement, that's not a lifetime treatment option. And they're probably, if they are a younger patient, signing up for multiple surgeries down the road.
As a physician and medical director for QC Kinetics, Dr. Caravelli's seen a pattern of trending joint pain. Prolonged medication, steroids, then surgery, possibly another surgery.
So a lot of our patients are trying to avoid or put off surgery, and this is the treatment that can help them do that.
QC Kinetics extracts your body's healing substances, concentrates them back into your aching joints to help heal and restore those areas, providing lasting relief.
Oh, I love being able to tell my patients, before we do this surgery, let's try another option. Let's see if this is right for you, because now they might not have to have surgery at all.
Call today for your free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
7:08, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, a service of the Chicago Wolves. Join the Wolves for Faith and Fellowship Saturday night at 7 against the Iowa Wild. Stay for the postgame. Wolves forward Josiah Slavin will share stories about his faith. Tickets available at Ticketmaster.com. This morning, problems on the BNSF, inbound and outbound into Union Station. 20 to 25 minutes behind schedule for most trains due to emergency track repairs. Plainfield, good morning in Will County. You've got a major shutdown, Route 126, both eastbound and westbound near Route 59 due to a railroad crossing failure. And delays this morning on DuSable Lakeshore Drive, northbound between Roosevelt and Monroe. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now your official Chicagoland weather forecast with Steve Williams.
Sun and clouds, very cold day today. We do have a cold weather advisory this morning. A high today at 11. Cloudy, brisk, very cold tonight with the low 0. Clouds and frigid. Flurries tomorrow, the high 14. Sunny, cold day Thursday, the high at 21. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
5 below, partly cloudy at O'Hare, a wind chill of minus 23. Your next news update, 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. American-Israeli citizen and occupational therapist from North Carolina, Keith Siegel, was released over the weekend after nearly 500 days in captivity. And this is part of the Phase 1 hostage exchanges between Israel and America by extension and Hamas.
And Siegel wrote the most beautiful love letter to President Trump.
Siegel released this video about his time in captivity and his release.
My name is Keith Siegel, and I'm a 65-year-old American citizen. I love country music, and I love pancakes on Saturday morning, but that was my previous life. Since February 1, I am a newly released Hamas hostage. I'm a survivor. I was held for 484 days in unimaginable conditions. Every single day felt like it could be my last. President Trump You are the reason I am home alive. You are the reason I was reunited with my beloved wife, 4 children, and 5 grandchildren. Thank you for your continued fight against terror and for your bold leadership that has brought me and many others back home to our families, to safety and to security. When I was in Gaza, I lived in constant fear for my life and for my personal safety. I was starved and I was tortured, both physically and emotionally. When the war intensified, the terrorists who held me treated me even worse than usual. Terrorists kicked me, spat on me, and held me with no water, no light, and no air to breathe. Mr. President, once again, your leadership, power, and authority are necessary to enforce the ceasefire and put an end to the unnecessary daily dangers to the lives of innocent hostages and civilians. Your leadership and strength will ensure the agreement is honored by all sides. That is what will allow all 76 hostages to return home to their families. I trust your strength and leadership, Mr. President. The helpless hostages in the dark, cold tunnels in Gaza also trust you. Please bring them home.
And there are 2 more American hostages thought to be alive in Hamas custody, if you will. This weekend, all hell did not break loose, as telegraphed. Were not all the hostages released. Not all the hostages were released, but America right now is deferring to Israel. At least that was the public statement with respect to the ceasefire and the process of securing the release of the remaining hostages. For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by Liel Leibovitz. He's editor-at-large for Tablet and host of the Rootless podcast. Liel, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
My pleasure as always. Good morning.
So the state of play here and sort of your updated viewpoint and how this is going in terms of securing the release of the hostages and the back and forth between America and Arab nations with respect to the future of Gaza and the future of the Gazans.
First of all, let's begin with that latter part because I think it helps really clarify our understanding of what's going on. I'm going to use a term to describe President Trump's plan or suggestion to clear the Gaza Strip of its occupants and seize control of that strip of land. That word, you would not hear it a lot in mainstream media, but that word is merciful. I think the thing to understand here, which we sometimes tend to forget, if you look just at the history of the last 4, 5, 6 years, you see that Arabs in Egypt, Tunisia, Syria, literally all over the Middle East, had stood up and risked their lives to rebel against tyrannical, oppressive, murderous regimes everywhere you look at, everywhere except for one place. That place is Gaza. We're hearing reports from the hostages who are coming back that literally the entire civilian population is partaking in this calamity, in this catastrophe. These hostages are being held in civilian homes. They're being used often as slaves for civilian families, forced to cook and clean for ordinary Gazans who delight in this torment. When the Israelis offered very large cash rewards and safe passages to any Gazan who said, hey, point out where these innocent men, women, and children are being kept, not a single person stood up. So what President Trump is saying, I'm going to show you mercy that you probably don't deserve. I'm going to take you all and give you a new chance at life, a new chance to prove that you actually care about your children and your future more than you care about murdering Jews. I think that is an act of great moral courage. I think it's an act of great political imagination. And even if it doesn't come to fruition, which I think it very well might, because I think it's a very feasible plan, just by proposing it, I think, as he had done during his first term with the Abraham Accords, President Trump yet again showed the capacity to totally change the rules of the game in the Middle East.
Well, what about the King of Jordan saying that he wants to take 2,000 Palestinian children who are sick? Do you think that's going to happen, or was he just trying to placate to President Trump while he was in the Oval Office?
I think he's very much, I think it's both. I think 2,000 is a very small number. I think he's trying to placate the president for sure, because he knows the same thing that his father knew, which is what his grandfather also knew, which is Jordan is a country that is overwhelmingly majority Palestinian, very, very brutally oppressed by a small Hashemite minority that has been governing over them for the better part of a century. Some historically minded listeners would recall that in the late 70s, when these Palestinians rebelled and said, hey, we want this to be a Palestinian state because we're more than 80% here, King Hussein, the current king's father, massacred, slightly over 10,000 of them in what was known as Black September. These are not regimes that have any misconceptions about who the Palestinians are and what they ultimately want. I think King Hussein is walking, King Abdullah is walking a very, very fine line here. But I think, again, the fact that we're seeing the king ready to embrace any form of this alternative shows us that unlike his predecessor, who is perceived as weak and ineffective and inconsequential, President Trump is communicating the message very clearly that America is back and that people better straighten up and not, test the limits of American power and resolve.
But I mean, you said that it's quite possible this could happen because of Trump's imaginative approach. But just based on the history you reviewed there, in addition to the history with the Egyptians, it seems almost implausible that either one of those countries would cede any territory for the relocation of 2 million Gazans.
I think once you actually get into the weeds of this plan, you find that it has way more chances of actually succeeding than might appear at first blush. First of all, look, Egypt itself has something like 1.3 million new people born every year. We're talking about something like 1.8 million Palestinians. We're talking also about Sinai, which is a territory that is, geographically and emotionally both very close and very similar to what Gaza is. I think some kind of plan by which these civilians are distributed to some combination of Egypt, mainly Sinai, Jordan, and then the Emirates is a plan that will not rustle the feathers too much of Arab countries. It is very feasible, especially given the fact that the outcome, that the payoff for this would be tremendous incentive, economic incentive, to actually bring about the vision of a Middle East that is peaceful, that is prosperous, and that is focused not on murdering Jews, but actually on improving the lives of all citizens, Jews and Arabs alike.
And you think the Trump administration's, at least from a perception perspective, taking a backseat to Bibi and the Israelis when it comes to the ceasefire and its progression, that's the right approach to take?
I think it's not just the right approach. I think it's honestly a noble approach, and I think the president understands very well that Prime Minister Netanyahu is in literally and figuratively a devil of a conundrum. He, I think, would very much like to go ahead and continue the fighting until all of Hamas is crushed. We're seeing in those ghastly ceremonies of hostage release, we're seeing still thousands and thousands of armed men celebrating in the streets with firearms, unafraid. On the other hand, look, we have more than 70 hostages alive. They are kept in a strip of land where literally every single house, Dan and Amy, every single one has been booby-trapped, where every single one lies on top of a tunnel stuffed with explosives, booby traps, and men with guns. This is a very, very difficult situation. I think Prime Minister Netanyahu, like most Israelis, as much as they would like to see the gates of hell open and punishment delivered to these animals in Hamas for all that they have done, I think the top priority in Israel right now is get as many people alive back as is humanly possible and then deal with the situation.
Well, when does phase 2 begin, and what does that look like?
Well, the question, the question is not so much when does phase 2 begin. I think the bigger question is whether phase 2 begins. Phase 2, which is supposed to begin in the coming weeks, is the phase in which there will be a permanent ceasefire. All the other hostages, meaning military-age men, will be released. We're talking again over more than 70 of them, and the rebuilding of Gaza will begin. If phase 2 indeed comes to fruition, that would mean that Hamas, for all intents and purposes, remains in power in Gaza. It will mean that the Philadelphia corridor, which is the corridor that essentially connects Egypt and Gaza, is once again in Hamas' hands, which means that they can continue to use it to smuggle in great amounts of munitions and armed men from all over the Arab world to continue rebuilding for the next October 7th, for the next murderous terrorist attack against Israel. I don't really honestly see any Israeli government signing that deal in good faith, because it would mean, even at the price of releasing all these hostages, it would basically mean that while tactically Israel has achieved tremendous things in this war, it has devastated so much of Hamas's, command center. It has devastated so much of Hamas's military capabilities, hurt its rocket, depots, et cetera, but actually strategically finds itself in a place that's not so different than what it was before October 7th. Very, very hard for me to see any Israeli leader actually signing on to that at any cost.
Leo Leibovitz, editor-at-large for Tablets, tabletmag.com, also tabletmag.org, and also host of the Rootless podcast. Leo, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. And he joined us on our Turnkey.pro answer line.
Connect with Dan and Amy on the AM 560 The Answer mobile app. Just text the word app to 64636 to download the app today.
At Signature Bank, going the distance for business banking customers is what we do every day. We understand that business owners have a strategic mission, a drive to succeed, a plan for growth, and don't have time to wait for a bank to respond. With Signature Bank, you not only have a banking partner that has roots right here in Chicago, but our decisions are made locally too. Signature Bank knows that when you have a question or problem about your business, you want answers. You need someone who will pick up the phone or respond to your text. You need someone who is always there for you. That's Signature Bank. We are a team that wants to get to know you and your business. Want to be Signature Bank's next success story? Give us a call today at 773-467-5630 or visit us online at signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
Oh, everyone's talking about it, including Joe Rogan, who recently mentioned his positive results with regenerative medicine. Of course, we're talking about our good friends at QC Kinetics and the amazing work that they are doing for people who find simple things like walking, getting out of a car, walking upstairs painful due to joint pain or arthritis. We're talking about pain in your knees, in your shoulders, in your elbows, in your back, in your hip. Anywhere that you have pain, they can help if you are a good candidate. Here's how it works. QC Kinetics treatments prompt your body to heal and restore damaged joints. These new orthobiologic cellular therapies, including PRP treatments, can revitalize your joints without going under the knife. There's no downtime, no drugs, no cortisone shots. Say goodbye to all of that. And here's what you do. You just call and make an appointment, and the consultation is free, and they'll let you know whether or not you're a candidate for QC Kinetics. They're open on Saturdays, and when you call them, please tell them that Amy Jacobson sent you, and that number to call is 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. Call today to schedule your free consultation, 312-809-5955.
Have you seen what's been happening in the stock market lately? The market has had some rough days. And if you think those numbers don't mean anything to you and your retirement plan, think again. Can you afford to lose a big chunk of your retirement savings in a single day at this stage of your life? If you want to make sure you aren't taking on more risk than you're comfortable with, call the team at Scott Tucker Solutions now. 847-474-3888 or go to 560retirement.com. Make sure you're prepared for whatever happens in the market, and if you already have a retirement plan, let's take a look to make sure you're properly diversified. Call Scott Tucker Solutions today to help make sure more bad days in the market don't disrupt your retirement plans. 847-474-3888 or go to 560retirement.com. That's 847-474-3888 or go to 560retirement.com. Investment advisory services made available through AE Wealth Management, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
This is Ed Morrissey of HotAir.com for Town Hall. Donald Trump may not have won in a landslide last November, but Democrats may not yet realize how disconnected they are from the American electorate and why. In the middle of the Democratic National Committee election last month, an official declared that the DNC had not met its quota of non-binary board members. He then changed the election conditions to force members to meet the quota. In one moment, the DNC showed why Americans now give them their worst approval ratings ever. Democrats went all in on DEI, especially applied to transgender activism. They forced girls and women to compete against males, share locker rooms and bathrooms with boys and men, and Americans hated it. A new poll from Marquette shows that over 6 in 10 Americans support Trump's efforts to employ biological reality to public policy, including 66% of independent voters. Democrats' transgender activism made their truth denial too obvious to ignore any longer. Reality is pushing back.
I saw a t-shirt recently, and it said, "Too much of anything is bad unless we're talking about bacon." Now, we can debate all day long about the points of bacon. However, portion control is a good thing. That can also be said about your retirement accounts. Too much risk, when you could be burdened down by a down market. Too conservative, and maybe you can't take that Alaskan cruise you've been saving for. Tom Fortuna and the people of Alpha Wealth Group understand portion control. He can balance a retirement plan with levels of protection and risk designed specifically to your needs. And if you don't want risk at all, he can do that as well. Just simply call for a free discovery meeting. You can call him today at 630-864-6711. That's 630-864-6711. You may not find that right balance between a pound of bacon and a pound of kale, but you can find the balance between worrying about your retirement and enjoying your retirement. Find out for yourself by giving Tom Fortino a call at 630-864-6711 or online at alphawealthgroup.com.
Why do so many companies count on Riverdale Plating and Heat Treating? Consistent high level of quality, an ISO certified and A2LA accredited heat treating, electroplating, fastener sorting, and packaging job shop. Riverdale Plating and Heat Treating meets and exceeds client specifications. Whether a high volume or a small production run, their processes ensure a job well done. Celebrating their 15th anniversary this year, they specialize in metal fasteners and stampings for automotive and other industries. And with a newly expanded sorting department, there are many sorting and packaging options to meet your needs. Riverdale Plating and Heat Treating serves customers in Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Ohio, Wisconsin, and Tennessee, with easy access to all forms of transportation from an automated facility in Riverdale, Illinois, just 15 minutes southwest of Chicago. Want consistent quality? Call Riverdale Plating and Heat Treating, 708-849-2050, or visit riverdalePHT.com.
If you have high blood pressure, listen to this story. Ira was given a grim diagnosis about his blood pressure. His doctor warned it's sky high. If he didn't get it down in 3 weeks, he was going to need surgery. So Ira began exercising, went on medication. But what seemed to be the miracle change, his diet. After thorough research and consulting with a nutritionist friend, Ira concocted a juice from foods that work like natural blood pressure medicines. 2 weeks later, his blood pressure dropped 30 points. What helped save Ira's life, amazed his doctor, is now available to you. Ira and his nutritionist founded 120 Life, a delicious juice and powdered mix with natural ingredients that have shown to lower blood pressure. Try it yourself risk-free with a 2-week trial pack. Go to 120life.com and use coupon code 560 to save 15% and get free shipping. They're so sure it can noticeably lower your blood pressure in 2 weeks, they'll give your money back if you're not satisfied. Order now, 120life.com. Use coupon code 560 at checkout.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm. If you own a timeshare, don't miss this public service announcement from Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group.
If you receive an unsolicited phone call or mail piece to discuss selling,
renting, or especially canceling your timeshare, don't fall for it. If you really want out of your timeshare, hang the phone up immediately or throw that mail piece in the trash and contact your timeshare resort or Wesley Financial Group for assistance with your timeshare. As the only Inc. 500 timeshare cancellation company, our knowledge, experience, and results has made Wesley a trusted resource for over 40,000 families we've helped get out of their timeshare. Give us a call, and I'll send you our timeshare exit information kit free with the straight facts about your timeshare and all of your options for cancellation.
Call for your free info kit. 800-839-8484. 800-839-8484. 800-839-8484.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Our friends over at WirePoints, wirepoints.org, have done a little bit of Doge work on Illinois themselves. We'll talk about it with WirePoints' Ted Dabrowski, 737.
But first, let's stop by that newsroom on this chilly day. Here's Mike Scott.
5 below zero, but if you're out in Rockford or DeKalb this morning, good morning, it's 11 below. Transportation Safety Board of Canada leading the investigation into a plane crash at the Toronto airport Monday that left 18 injured.
Thankfully, no deaths have been reported, but about 8 passengers have been injured. The Toronto Star sadly reporting that a pediatric patient, a baby, has been transported to the hospital in critical condition. Perhaps that child was sitting on a parent's lap. You know, oftentimes people fly with their babies, their toddlers on the lap. They don't always get a car seat. So perhaps that is what happened when the plane landed and the child sadly went in the air. We will have to see. Officials say, though, all 80 people are accounted for, thankfully.
The Transportation Safety Board of Canada will be in charge of the investigation. The crash happened amidst blowing snow and winds at 40 miles an hour. The U.S. holding talks with Russia over ending the war in Ukraine. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff arrived in Saudi Arabia Monday. President Donald Trump spoke with French President Emmanuel Macron about the negotiations recently. Floods tore through the south this weekend, soaking apartments at the Retreat at Concord in Clarksville, Tennessee. This resident lost his car but is trying to stay positive.
Scary, didn't know what you were walking in, plus you don't know what's in the water. It could be toxic, anything, But other than that, I guess God will find a way to make us all clear and get it done.
Southwest Airlines says this morning they're cutting 15% of its corporate workforce. It's the airline's first mass layoff in the company's history. Bitter temps continue in the region. Health officials warning to take precautions against cold weather, such as hypothermia and frostbite. Those in need of a warming shelter should call 311. A patient is accused of stabbing an ER doctor at Provident Hospital in Chicago. The doctor was rushed to a nearby trauma center and is said now to be in fair condition. Another staff member suffered minor injuries in the attack. The suspect's name is being withheld pending charges. And a child died Monday afternoon after drowning at a home in Bannockburn, where police say around 2 p.m., police and paramedics with the Deerfield Bannockburn Fire Department were sent to a home in the 1900 block of Illinois Route 22 on reports of a drowning. Foul play right now is not suspected. College hoops tonight. The Fighting Illini look to get back in the win column as they take on number 11 Wisconsin at the Kohl Center. Tonight, Loyola takes on Davidson in the A-10. And the White Sox have a new reliever. The team claiming right-hander Owen White off waivers from the Yankees. 7:35 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Hugh Hewitt explains Trump's new party,
which I'll call GOP-H, the GOP hybrid party. It includes everyone and more who want to come over. He is not an ideologue. He's a common-sense center-right conservative, and he expanded the party significantly. The Trump party, the Republican Party of Trump, is a big tent party.
The Hugh Hewitt Show, afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Reveille. The longest-serving speaker in the United States, Mike Madigan, was convicted of bribery, wire fraud, and conspiracy. He was found guilty of trading favorable legislation with ComEd for no-show jobs for his cronies. This conviction is welcome. It takes down a man who served in the Illinois House for 50 years and as Speaker for 36 years. As the most powerful man in Illinois government for decades, the illegality he has been found guilty of is a pittance compared to his real crimes against the people of Illinois, bad public policies that he enacted. Policies that handed the state over to the public sector unions, rent-seeking corporations, cultural Marxists, and Planned Parenthood. In just the last 20 years of his 50-year stint in the State House, when his party had complete control, notwithstanding the Republican Rounders' inept governorship, Madigan oversaw a $100 billion increase in unfunded pension liability, a 32% permanent income tax increase, a doubling of gas taxes, making Illinois number one in this category, an increase in bonded debt by over $20 billion, an outmigration of 1.7 million people, a credit rating that plummeted to the worst in the nation, just above junk, a law requiring taxpayers to fund abortion, sanctuary state for illegal immigrants, and at least 15 of his Democrat colleagues similarly convicted of crimes in the decade just before he left office. Madigan may now be best known for his conviction, but his legacy is one of turning an economic powerhouse into a morally and fiscally bankrupt cesspool. Ultimately, though, this guilty verdict also falls on the voters. They gave Madigan his power election after election. He may not have been on their actual ballot, but they voted for his Democrat state reps that he financed, who then stayed silent as he ran the House like a dictator. I'm Jeannie Ives. Check out The Real Story with me Sunday nights from 7 to 9 p.m. and sign up for my newsletter at breakthrough-ideas.com.
A great smile can make you feel happy and confident. So when you consciously conserve your teeth, that glowing smile will show through. At Best Dental Group, doctors Economos, Gave Alice, and their staff are ready to help you create that perfect look or maintain the one you have now. Along with general dentistry, Best Dental Group is a multidiscipline practice with an orthodontist, periodontist, and prosthetic specialists on site. They use the newest breakthroughs in dental technology such as titanium implants, Invisalign clear braces, and laser treatments. Don't let fear get in the way. They can recommend sedation to make your experience as comfortable as possible. Best Dental Group is located in historic downtown Bartlett and is a multilingual office. Call 630-830-4930, 630-830-4930, or visit bestdental.org. Best Dental Group, sharing your conservative values and helping you to conserve your teeth.
7:38. Let's get an update on the roads. We do that, of course, in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, a service of almostfreeteeth.com. Overpaying for dental implants is over. If you have a Blue Cross Blue Shield, PPO, or FEP, you can save 90% off on average to get your smile back. Learn more and check if you qualify. Almostfreeteeth.com. Kennedy inbound right now, an hour and 10 minutes. O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. The Ike from 390 into the old post office. 65 minutes this morning. Your big jam up between Manheim and Western. Dan Ryan coming in 30 minutes, 95th into the Circle interchange. Tri-State stop and go northbound right at the Reagan I-88 merge. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now, your official Chicagoland weather forecast. A very cold start to a cold day with sun through the high clouds and a high of 11. Cloudy, brisk, very cold overnight, low 0. 5 below at O'Hare, 2 below at Midway, 10 below in Aurora, 7 below in Waukegan, -6 in Romeoville, -1 Lakefront. Your next news update is at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Insert Democrat socialist here.
Runs the Democratic House law for 30 plus years running. He's promising this and he's stealing that. Where can you get that kind of money? He's using your house like his own piggy bank. never keep up with the taxes. Oh, how it's always been the plan to have a taxpayer pay, no doubt. Not a matter of if anymore, but when you're moving out. I said, when you're
Top of the morning,
out.
Dan and Amy. That theme music means it's time for our weekly conversation with Ted Dabrowski, President WirePoints, wirepoints.org, all things Illinois policy related. And Ted and the WirePoints boys have been doing some of the work that Elon and the Doge boys are doing at the federal level. They've been doing it at the state level, of course. And I'm particularly interested in this piece posted today about the amount of money the state of Illinois has spent on providing housing and health care to people in the country illegally residing in the state of Illinois. So, Ted, let's start there. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, good morning, Dan. Good morning, Amy.
And again, let me just say again, this is the state funding. So if you don't agree that the numbers we're about to talk through represent a pittance to becoming for the honor of being a welcoming state, then you have to confront J.B. Pritzker and your state legislators. You don't get to just content yourself by bitching about BLM Brandon because it's easy. Okay. Ted, please walk us through the numbers.
Hey, Dan, I was having a separate conversation just now about that. Everybody can hit on Johnson. He's the easy punching bag, right? And it's a game for everybody. But the harder hits are exactly like you said, against the state lawmakers, against Pritzker, because they're the ones that control all these billions. All right, so here's the first thing. We read the story yesterday as well. You mentioned it earlier in your show today about the closing of the San Diego Welcoming Center because they've had zero, since the inauguration, they've had zero, new immigrants come in. It's the border closed is working, and those welcoming centers aren't needed. So they're going to, get rid of 115 people at that welcoming center. Well, it begs the question. We looked at Illinois. You pop in there, you go into the Department of Human Services, and you keep going down a few levels, and there you go. You see that one big line, welcoming centers, $139 million. And that's just the welcoming centers, the little places that welcome. It's a massive number. Then you keep going further down, and you see the $1.5 billion spent on health care for illegal immigrants. And I don't mean the asylees, the ones that have applied for asylum. They get Medicaid. So that's another bucket. And we haven't been able to find that number. But these other 40,000 who are in Medicaid-like product, we're spending $40 to $80 million a month on them. It's $1.5 billion in the last 2.5 years. Again, it is all state money. There's no federal support there. And you're talking about Medicaid for adults 42 and older. So you're talking, and then you get to education, Dan and Amy. Education, we have no idea because we don't know exactly, across the entire state, right? They're in Rockford, they're in Elgin, they're in Waukegan, in Cicero, you name it. We've got a lot of illegal immigrants everywhere. And at a pop of $25,000 a kid is what it costs for us to educate kids in Illinois. Think about that. There's a supposed 530,000 illegal immigrants in Illinois. So how much are we spending on education for that? We don't know. We looked at the numbers for CPS, and the CPS gave us an estimate of how many kids might be there, up to 17,000. Well, that's $400 million a year on that. So the numbers are massive. And what we have to remember is that we're spending all that money and either raising taxes on all the struggling Illinois who already pay some of the highest taxes in the country, or we're cutting services or cutting money that should go to our really struggling citizens and residents of Illinois that are just being totally ignored.
So, Ted, in all, how much have we spent and how many illegal immigrants are living in the state of Illinois?
Yeah, well, the numbers that a group called FAIR, if I have the right name, they have it at over 500,000 illegal immigrants in Illinois. Of course, many of them have been here for a longer period of time, obviously, and many have come in the last few years. And we have to remember not to confuse the ones who are called the asylees who went through the process, signed up on the app, and all that. That's that 40 to 50,000 that came into Illinois on buses, et cetera. There's a whole other crowd that just crosses the border in Texas and somehow ends up in Illinois. So these are massive numbers. what we've been able to add up, and again, we can't add up everything because we don't have access to the numbers. Over $2.5 billion in the last 2.5 years, but
$2.5 billion out of what's the annual budget at now? 60 billion.
Yeah, 53 billion now. Yeah, well, there's estimates of 5 to 6 billion a year for Illinois.
And so, and so that the 2.5 that you can document, round numbers, but then you're, just to be clear on this, you're saying that doesn't include these huge buckets of expenditure that we don't have a full accounting for, like health care through the state's Medicaid program, and K through 12 education. You're estimating $400 million in CPS alone, but that doesn't contemplate the rest of the state.
That's right, and I'm not sure that even contemplates the non-asylee immigrants that are here. So, the numbers are massive. I mean, that's really the bottom line. And what COVID allowed us to do is just to increase all that spending in ways that we can't see, and line items we can't see, and that's again what makes the whole DOGE movement. And what's good news is that we're all now, there's groups across, and I know Dan, you're doing a lot of that too with some of your groups. Looking at those numbers and getting to those line items, because the line items are sitting there somewhere. We just got to get to them.
Yeah, you would think that you'd have some motivated legislators to do some digging and some public demanding of full disclosure to take a page out of the not quite. We don't need protest songs and performative histrionics in front of the state capitol in Springfield, but we do need people. Other than policy wonks and radio talk show hosts, people that are actually in public office, perhaps raising a stink about this as well. That would be helpful.
Well, it would be. I tell you why, because, getting down to these line items, I mean, in theory, you've got, staff, all kinds of legislative staff that can immediately get these line items. They know what they're looking for and what they can search for. Mm-hmm. Much harder for us, but, I know some on your team, Dan, are getting some of those line items, and you did some reporting on that where you're seeing money go to these, quote, NGOs. A lot of times half of the money, more than half of the money is going to be government funding for, all kinds of stuff that shouldn't be funded.
Right. It's really building political infrastructure is what the NGOs, so many of these NGOs are set up to do. And surprise, surprise, most of them are staffed by card-carrying members of the left in the state of Illinois, as we talked about a bit yesterday with the Indo-American Center in Chicago. Updating us on the story we talked about a bit last week, and from the reports that you've posted on Wire Points, I'm sort of picking up some optimism that I'm a bit surprised about. But I'm talking about the secession movement in Illinois, where nearly a third of Illinois counties have voted, non-binding resolutions to secede from the state. And now the Republicans that control the state house in Indiana have taken it up, like they'll Red Rover some of these counties over. But it's a little bit more complicated than that. So why are you optimistic that this is anything more than sort of conservative virtue signaling?
Well, I'm not optimistic it's happening. I think what I appreciate is that these people are speaking up. These people in these counties. Okay, let me back up. There's a whole bunch of people criticizing these counties for wanting to separate. Mm-hmm. And as I wrote yesterday, I don't support any separation of Illinois. I support on rebuilding this place in the way that it should be. Yeah. But that said, we have to remember that we have separatists leaving every day from this state, and they move to Tennessee and to Florida and Texas. We've lost 1.6 million people who've separated from this state by just leaving. These people that I've met, and I've spoken to the separatist groups, they're just everyday Illinoisans who said, we want to separate too, but I don't want to leave my home. I don't want to leave my farm. I don't want to leave my state. I just want to create a new one called New Illinois. And again, I appreciate their push, because you know what? They're saying we don't like what we see in Illinois. We want change. And what's fascinating is that the legislature and Governor Pritzker ignore these people, and they shouldn't be ignored. It's why we have such a problem in Illinois. Is that this government only cares about the political elite, the government elite, the government class, and not about the ordinary class, the everyday class.
But do you think this is actually going to happen? I mean, there's 33 counties that you just and Dan just mentioned. Do you really think Indiana's going to take some of them?
I just think the whole process is too hard. I mean, you've got to have Indiana approve it. You have to have Illinois approve it, congressional approval. What I see it more as is it's raising the issue. These people are struggling with taxes. They're struggling with this Chicago and Cook County power. But what I also think was funny too is that Governor Pritzker dissed the whole thing. He called it a stunt. And he said nobody wants to move to Indiana, which is then what it points out is, wait a minute, Indiana's kicking our butt on so many statistics, but on the fiscal, on the demographic, and we're losing. We lose on net people to Indiana every single year. We lost like 18,000 people last year alone. Indiana is rocking relative to Illinois, and Pritzker should, instead of behave that way, should say, hey, we're going to take on Indiana. But that would require him to stop lying, and that's all you have to do in Illinois. A president is you just lie to Chicagoland. You just tell them that things are up when they're down, and I don't know. That's where most people seem to be at. Just tell me the beautiful lies, because it's just I don't have the intestinal fortitude to confront the actual reality. Speaking of taxes, you mentioned it. So, is there any movement happening for? I know there's some rumblings. Now, is there movement yet for a structural tax increase in Illinois? Well, I think there will be. They're trying to figure that out right now. Pritzker's in a kind of a funny spot, right? He lost his progressive tax move back in 2020. And does he want to go through it again, especially if he, all these rumors of him wanting to run for president? Does he want to go with the tax hike again? That's a tough question, but I can tell you this, guys like Martwick and others absolutely want a tax hike. And so, don't be surprised to hear the whole progressive tax scheme come back again. They'll push for it because they need more money. I'll tell you, they have trapped themselves. They spent all that temporary COVID money on long-term giveaways, right? Vote buying. And now they're trapped. And so, do they cut spending? Do they cut back what they promised? Or do they raise taxes? Yeah, and I like a little bit of the cannibalization going on. Not that anybody's wearing a white hat in these fights. They're all villains. But Susana Mendoza, who has aspirations to be somebody someday other than the state comptroller, urging the city council to vote no on BLM Brandon's $830 million bond issue because to hear from the state comptroller criticizing some other government's finances, talk about living in a glass house, but because the city council, because the city of Chicago, I should say, is too the financial stability of the city is too precarious to support that level of borrowing one more time. Yeah, she's again the easy punching bag is Johnson, but she's not hitting Pritzker for his projected $23 billion in deficits coming up in the next 5 years. And I think we have to remember, and Susana Mendoza has said some better things, but she's been part of the system all along, and now she's trying to take credit for the numbers in Illinois that were helped by the $200 billion in COVID windfall revenues. So I think we have to remember she pays the checks. She doesn't actually set policy. So for her to take credit for what she's taking credit for makes no sense. Ted Dabrowski, president of WirePoints, wirepoints.org, all things Illinois policy related. Thanks, Tim. Ted,
Thank you, guys.
Yeah. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer. Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life.
You never want to miss one of life's most important moments. A graduation, a birthday, a first communion, a wedding. When these moments happen, you want to make sure to capture them so that you and your loved ones can remember them for years to come. For over 30 years, families have relied on Tom Kaloran Photography to capture important life moments. This locally owned family business can provide the solutions you need for your important event photography, from weddings and birthdays to class reunions and golf outings. No matter the size or scope, Tom Kaloran Photography will make sure you have lasting memories to share for years to come. Tom Kaloran Photography is also the official photographer for AM 560 The Answer. To learn more and to see their portfolio, just visit KaloranPhotography.com. That's KILLORAN photography.com or call them at 708-361-0025. Tom Kaloran Photography, capturing important life moments for over 30 years.
So how's the separation going? Are you guys able to work things out?
No. I think we're headed for divorce.
That sucks. Gonna be an expensive legal battle?
Well, no, that's one thing we agree on, actually. Arbitration.
Arbitration? Like mediation?
Sort of, but better. We'll have a firm decision.
Oh, that's easier. Who's your arbitrator?
Bert Hochberg.
That attorney at Schiller, DeCanto, and Fleck?
Yeah, senior partner. Comes highly recommended.
Are you facing divorce or a family law issue? Burton S. Hochberg offers arbitration services, a dispute resolution process that will save you time, money, and the complexity of litigation. Let Burton hear and resolve your claims with choices that best suit you and yours. To discuss, call Bert directly, or even better, have your attorney call Bert at 773-255-6150. That's 773-255-6150. Again, 773-255-6150. No one knows arbitration like Bert Hochberg. Why go through a difficult divorce? Call Bert at Schiller, DeCanto, and Fleck, Chicago's preeminent family law firm since 1981.
At Catholic Cemeteries of Chicago, we honor traditions, celebrate faith, and cherish memories. Take an active role in establishing your legacy for future generations by pre-planning your final arrangements today. Alleviate your loved ones of future financial burden. Lock in today's prices and take advantage of interest-free financing and no hidden fees. Visit CatholicCemeteriesChicago.org or call 708-236-5490 to schedule a free consultation today.
Don't miss In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr., now heard on Sunday mornings at 7:30. Tune in and find hope as Jim Scudder explores God's Word and His world each Sunday morning right here on AM 560, The Answer.
Salem News Channel is America's fastest growing conservative TV network.
It's an absolute crazy day.
Home to the largest lineup of free speech champions anywhere. Delivering in-depth insight and unapologetic opinion on today's biggest news stories.
Americans aren't going to put up with this anymore.
SNC brings you the news that matters, told with integrity and clarity. Watch Salem News Channel free 24/7 on your television. Stream now on Xumo Play.
Raj Shah, host of Unleash Your Wealth.
You know, there are a lot of clients and people coming in from the radio into our office saying, I don't want to lose any money. I need to protect the money I have saved over the last 20 or 30 years, where you have strategies where you can structure an income stream where it has an inflation protection so that as inflation, if it continues to go up, your income will go up.
Unleash Your Wealth, Saturday at 7 a.m. and 2 p.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 8:08, our latest installment of Why Dan Proft is Single, starting with Elon Musk's recently revealed new baby mama. 8:08.
But now let's check into that newsroom. Sub-zero windshields on this bitterly cold day. Here is Mike Scott with more.
Provident Hospital ER doctor stabbed by a patient. Health officials warning to take precautions in the frigid temperatures. A man shot in a Rogers Park neighborhood attack. A child drowns at a home in Bannockburn, and the investigation is underway. And the death of a bald eagle in Bussey Woods is likely the bird flu. College hoops, the Illini visit Wisconsin. WIND Chicago News Time, 8 o'clock.
It was the first U.S.-Russia meeting since the Ukraine invasion.
I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, and they've wrapped it up in Saudi Arabia. Secretary of State Marco Rubio led the U.S. delegation.
We're going to appoint a high-level team from our end to help negotiate and work through the end of the conflict in Ukraine in a way that's enduring and acceptable to all the parties engaged.
But no date set yet for President Trump's plan to sit down with Russian leader Vladimir Putin. Ukraine was not part of these talks. Its president says he won't accept any peace deal they're not involved in. There's news out of Gaza. Hamas now says it'll increase the number of hostages to be released this weekend in the ceasefire with Israel. 6 are alive, 4 are dead. The anti-Doge protests are spreading to cities across America amid legal challenges aimed at stopping Elon Musk and the Department of Government Efficiency's reach into federal agencies. Musk, sitting next to President Trump, tells Fox's Hannity in an interview that'll run tonight.
I used to be adored by the left, you know.
Yeah, not anymore.
Less so these days.
He killed that, huh?
I mean, less.
I really did it.
Well, I mean, this whole sort of like, you know, they call it like Trump derangement syndrome.
Now, Doge is close to getting access to IRS tax systems, and Fox's Lillian Wu reports.
The acting commissioner of the Social Security Administration has stepped down, according to multiple reports after a clash with billionaire Elon Musk's U.S. Doge service and its attempts to access sensitive government records. Michelle King, who spent decades at the agency before being named acting commissioner last month, is said to have left her position Sunday after the disagreement.
They may feel lucky to be alive. The passengers on that Delta Connection flight from Minneapolis that crash landed in Toronto left upside down, wings torn off, and caught fire.
None of the people remarkably on board have life-threatening injuries, according to officials, but 18 people are hurt of the 80 passengers on board, as many are asking questions about the role that wind gusts played in this. Now, there were wind gusts in the area at the time of the crash of about 38 miles an hour.
That's Nate Foy in Toronto. America's listening to Fox News.
8:02, 5 below zero wind chill. Right now dipping to minus 22 at 8:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Bitter temperatures continue in the region. Those in need of a warming shelter should call 311. And the Salvation Army says if you need a ride, they're ready to help.
Our crisis response team, they also do well-being checks for seniors and for other families in need. So if you're having any need, we encourage you to please dial 311.
Andrew Ward with the Salvation Army. A patient is accused of stabbing an ER doctor at Provident Hospital in Chicago. Police say the suspect approached the 56-year-old with a sharp object, stabbing him in the chest. The doctor was taken to a trauma center and is said to be in fair condition. Police in northwest Indiana identifying 2 killed in a murder-suicide at a gas station. The incident happened Saturday morning in Maryville. Lake County Coroner's Office says 42-year-old Amanda Dusick of Worth died from a gunshot wound. Her death has been ruled a homicide. Douglas Venable also died of several gunshot wounds. Autopsies are scheduled for later today. Chicago sports. College hoops tonight. The Fighting Illini visit number 11 Wisconsin. And in the A-10, it's Loyola visiting Davidson. The news, a service of Quick Delivery Service. When you need reliable same-day delivery to clients, trust 40 years of experience for peace of mind. Get a quote at quickdelivery.com. 8:03, time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank. Visit signaturebank.bank for all your commercial banking needs. And now, the latest from the Fox Business Network.
I'm Jerry Willis, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Defense stocks are rising as administration officials meet with representatives from Russia in Saudi Arabia to discuss ending the war in Ukraine. Barron says any peace deal will likely result in increased government spending on defense, even if it's not the U.S. government spending it. Delta Airlines shares are down 1% after yesterday's incident in Toronto, where a jet operated by its regional subsidiary flipped over on landing at Toronto's Pearson International Airport. Honda is apparently willing to resume merger talks with Nissan Motor if Nissan CEO Makoto Uchida steps down. The Financial Times is attributing its report to a person familiar with discussions. The merger talks collapsed last week. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Cosola. invested in you.
Big delays on the Metro Union Pacific Westline train. We'll tell you why coming up in just a moment on AM 560.
On March 4th, President Trump will make his first address to a joint session of Congress of his new presidency.
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
And AM 560, The Answer, is throwing a watch party. And you're invited to join us for dinner at the Meridian Banquets and Conference Center in Rolling Meadows. Enjoy dinner before the speech, and then watch the speech with AM 560's Dan Proft, Amy Jacobson, and Sean Thompson. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/watch. Sponsored in part by attorney Stephen A. Leahy at Opum Tax Advocates.
Be a part of something bigger. The America First Leadership Dinner with Lara Trump is your chance to stand at the forefront of the movement shaping America's future. On February 21st in DuPage County, get ready for an unforgettable evening of impactful conversation, networking, and leadership with Lara Trump, co-chair of the Republican National Committee, daughter-in-law to President Trump, and Fox News' newest host. Lara will join business leaders, elected officials, and patriots to discuss the key issues defining America's future. Seats are limited. Secure yours today at countyconservatives.com. Be part of the movement that became too big to rig. The night will include a silent auction featuring upscale Trump merchandise and an absolutely delectable chocolate dessert table. The America First Leadership Dinner with Lara Trump, February 21st. Advance purchase tickets only. Available at countyconservatives.com. That's countyconservatives.com. Seats are limited. Secure yours today at countyconservatives.com. Event sponsored by MC Go Pack.
Progressive presents Employee of the Month. Small Business Edition. Today's recipient from Lucky Larry's Landscaping, Larry! Larry saved his business money with a quick commercial auto quote from Progressive. Does it help he's his own marketing manager, accountant, executive assistant, and never been late? Technically, yes, but saving really put him over the edge. So, Larry, give Larry a round of applause. Be your own Larry. See if you could save in as little as 7 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated in the best hearing aids of 2024 by USA Today, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, just $189.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 500,000 happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
8:07. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time is a service of almostfreeteeth.com. If you have Blue Cross Blue Shield, PPO, or FEP, you could save 90% off on average to get that smile back. Learn more. Check if you qualify. Almostfreeteeth.com. We'll start on the Metro Union Pacific Westline trains. Inbound and outbound trains are originating and terminating at College Avenue until further notice. Trains may be delayed and have operational changes, all due to a passenger being struck near Winfield this morning. So passengers traveling between Elburn and Wheaton need to seek alternate transportation this morning. Let's get to the roads right now. Addison, report of an accident. Army Trail in Kingston. Idaho and Lies in Carroll Stream, report of an accident. Long Grove, an accident. Gilmer and Diamond Lake. On the toll roads right now, the Jane Addams jamming up eastbound right at Meacham. The Tri-State slowing up between the Stevenson and the Hinsdale Oasis. And big travel times developing on the Eisenhower inbound, an hour 10 from 390 into the old post office. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
A cold weather advisory in effect this morning. Sun and clouds for today, the high at 11. Clouds brisk, a bitter cold night tonight with the low 0. Cloudy, frigid flurries tomorrow, the high 14. And then sunny on Thursday with the high at 21. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
5 below at O'Hare, 2 below at Midway, 10 below in Aurora, 7 below in Waukegan, and 1 below along Chicago's lakefront. Your next news update is at 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Time now for another reason why Dan Proft is single.
Oh, yeah. Move in, ladies. Dan has a story to tell.
Well, it's a story that everybody's talking about, so it's not really me breaking any news here. Ashley St. Clair, who I guess used to write for the Babylon Bee, came out this weekend as Elon Musk's latest baby mama. This would be
number what?
13, spread across 4 women, pun intended. Yeah, and she's not like super happy about it, and I mean, to some extent, I don't know where the truth is here. I'm somewhat sympathetic. New York Post reporting that Ashley St. Clair, who is 31, I think there's some outlets reporting her as 26, but that's still violative of the half your age plus 7 rule, isn't that the rule?
Right, because he's 53. All right, she's 26.
No, she's not 26. She's 31.
Okay.
But that's still violative because the lowest he could technically go under the half your age plus 7 rule would be, let's say, 33.
All right.
Right? Is that right?
Yeah.
That's not a law. That's just a rule, right?
Yeah, it's all the women. Everybody knows about it.
Yeah.
It's what's acceptable, okay?
It says who?
Well,
them, they, society. Sure. She feels jilted and terrified after Musk refused to come to her aid when reporters began snooping around their infant son. Our friend Emma Jo Morris, who is apparently friends with Ashley St. Clair, Emma Jo Morris broke the Hunter Biden laptop story.
Oh, yeah.
She's at Breitbart now. She was at the Post.
Yeah, we had her on the show.
Many times. Ashley this is Emma Jo Morris. Ashley got wind that a tabloid was kicking the tires on her. She reached out to Elon immediately. He basically cut bait, so the message she understood was that she was on her own. At this point, she realized, okay, I'm out in the cold. I have to handle this myself. Musk did not respond to the New York Post. Morris went on to say that she, meaning Ashley, expected it would be arrangements similar to that he has with his other baby mamas. She would raise the child and Elon would be peripherally present in their lives. It's a very hostile action by Musk not to respond when the mother of your son calls and says, the press is hounding me, what do I do? This is about letting herself tell the story before somebody else tells it for her and potentially either causes her reputational damage or harm. Now, there's more to this story. Just even in its early stages. Someone else came forward who alleges to be an acquaintance of Ashley St. Clair, a woman named Kylie Kremer, who is Kremer,
I just
maybe?
don't like the last name. Okay?
Kremer.
Yeah.
She is the director of a MAGA group, Women for America First, and she says, quote, it seems like Ashley was not getting what she wanted, was emotional and hurt on Valentine's Day because Elon Musk allegedly ghosted her on Valentine's Day, and decided to parade her crazy on the front porch, thinking people would be sympathetic to her as a victim of a powerful, wealthy man.
What am I supposed to do? You won't answer my calls. You changed your number. I mean, I'm not going to be ignored, Dan.
Elon. Yes. And so Ashley literally paraded her crazy on the front porch, invited the media to capture it, claimed Kylie Kremer, in essentially, I don't know, discounting some of the victimization that Ashley St. Clair is representing to have suffered. By the way,
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line.
I mean, not that this is intended to essentially direct your viewpoint one way or the other, but it's just worth noting that Ashley St. Clair also has another kid that is not Elon's.
Okay.
And Elon hasn't exactly confirmed that's his kid yet, though he did respond to a tweet. And this is such a modern day relationship story. He did respond to a tweet from Milo Yiannopoulos. Remember that guy? He responded to a tweet where Milo alleged that Ashley St. Clair was trying to angle her way into Musk's orbit for the better part of half a decade. Elon Musk tweeting, "Whoa," to that.
Bro, whoa.
So that's what I've got for you. The Elon Musk and Ashley St. Clair saga in, day 3 or 4 here. She posted, Ashley St. Clair, 5 months ago, I welcomed a new baby into the world. Elon Musk is the father. I have not previously disclosed this to protect our child's privacy and safety, but in recent days it has become clear that tabloid media intends to do so, regardless of the harm it will cause. I intend to allow our child to grow in a normal and safe environment. For that reason, I ask that the media honor our child's privacy and refrain from invasive reporting. Boy, I'll tell you what, Elon is, starting to get into Antonio Cromartie territory. Remember Antonio Cromartie?
No, what was his scoop? How many kids did he have?
He was a defensive back for the New York Jets, and I think this was when the Jets were the subject of the HBO Hard Knocks series, and he was talking about his kids.
I got Alonzo, who is 5. I have Karis, who is 3. I have my junior, which is 3. I have my daughter, who just turned 3 as of yesterday. I have another son named Tyler. He turns 3 in December. We got another daughter that was born October 16th named London. Another daughter that was born named Leilani, who's 2 years old. And I have my newborn with my wife. Her name is Jersey.
Oh, he has a wife.
Well,
so he had 4 kids with 4 different women all at the same time because they're all 3 years old, and they're not twins.
He didn't say that, but the math is sort of inexorable, isn't it? Yeah. So
I do know this. So when Musk, little X who told President Trump that he has to go pee-pee, he was so cute. He had on that camel color wool coat in the White House in the Oval Office last week. CNN reached out to X's mom, and she said she didn't go on camera, but she said she doesn't like the way her son's being paraded around the White House.
All these headaches Elon brought on himself, so I have little sympathy. But
why would you do that to yourself? 5 different women. What? 13 children now with 5 different women. Well, if you consider Stacey St. Clair to, not her accusation, but if you consider it to be true, what she said, that he fathered that child.
Well, the whole thing, too, is like the tabloids are hounding you. Well, so then why don't you just refuse to? I mean,
she's a reporter. She knows how this shtick works. Come on. If anybody can handle it, she can.
Well, my point is to say, if you don't confirm that it's Elon Musk's child, this is 5 months ago. She said, I had this child 5 months ago. Elon Musk is the father. If you don't confirm it's your child, it's Elon Musk's child, they have no way to know that, and they have no basis to report it. So that's why I think, the whole, I got ghosted on Valentine's Day. I'm jilted. He's not responding. I'm reaching out, Glenn Close style. I will not be ignored. And this is her way to not be ignored anymore.
What is she cooking for dinner, rabbit?
Indeed. Deborah in Arlington Heights.
Dan.
Yeah.
The Elon Musk story pales in comparison to the opener song you picked.
Why?
Seriously, Spandau Ballet, that song made me sick when I was pregnant.
It made you sick?
Yes, it did. Whenever I would hear it when I was driving to work, I felt like pulling over and getting sick.
Because it's so beautiful?
Because I don't know. It was a trigger.
That's so funny. Are you being serious too? Because I can believe it.
No, I am. I'm totally serious. That is absolutely true. Absolutely true.
Well, I think it's a wonderful romantic song, and
oh my God.
right?
Deborah, my trigger was my brown shoes.
This is my Dan Practice single. This is my Dan Practice single.
Yeah, I also think 18 in Life is a romantic song. Thanks for the call, Deborah.
Well, maybe we should change your song in order to keep Deborah, from feeling nauseous.
I also think Queensryche's Empire is a nice romantic song. So, it's a range. But this is the opportunity to tell the Spandau Ballet story, too. It's ironic.
Uh-huh.
I've told the story before. The basis of the Spandau Ballet, the band name.
Just say it again.
So, it's funny because they have this schmaltzy love song, True. It's named after Spandau Prison in Germany, where they executed Nazi war criminals. And when they hung them and they were dangling on the end of the noose, it was called the Spandau Ballet.
Oh, boy.
So that's why I think it's romantic. Steve in Downers Grove.
Well, Dan and Amy, I understand we sent 40,000 condoms to Gaza or somewhere out there.
Mozambique, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, how come we didn't take a couple of dozen and give them to Elon? What's wrong with it? Thanks.
I think,
Thanks for the call.
His first child died at 10 weeks, so I think that's the reason why maybe he keeps procreating. I don't know. I just conjecture on my part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As long as he's paying them child support, which he better be,
You don't care if he acknowledges them as long as he's writing
No,
checks.
he needs to not pull a Biden with their 7th grandchild here and acknowledge, yes, that is
or
my
a Steve
child.
Jobs or a Larry Bird. Kevin in Austin, Texas.
Shouldn't this be under a Dan Proft as a vasectomy thing?
Yeah.
At any rate, if he needs any legal
segment.
If he needs any legal representation, I think he should ask the Plumbers Union, because he's definitely demonstrated he should be a member of the Plumbers Union by the amount of pipe that he's been laying.
Oh, my God. Wow. Kevin, Austin, Texas. Holy cow. Working blue today. Good grief.
Wow.
I'm
Text
blanched.
message. I got this thing, and darn it, I'm going to get something for it.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. I got another one. I don't really know how. I mean, I just all the tumult and the drama around this. Not that it would be the situation in my case, because I'm nobody. I'm not the richest man in the world. So anything around Elon Musk, but this sort of his prolific production of children across many women is something that. I don't know.
Right.
No, you don't. You have no issue with it.
Well, somebody just texted in. Dan and Amy, Musk believes in expanding the population. That was in his book.
Mm-hmm. Right. It's a very utilitarian cover story, isn't it? Okay. I mean, I'm just asking. I don't know. I don't know where.
Men need to be there as fathers for their children, so.
It's going to be tough when
there's
you got
time in the day to do that with
13
13 kids in different states with 5 different baby mamas.
Oof. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's some strange. There's that's the whole thing too. Is you can appreciate somebody in a particular space and be less appreciative of them in another space. I mean, these kids' names, and one is identifying as trans, and I don't know.
You don't like the name X? You think they should have been named Twitter?
Yeah, exactly. One more I wanted to get to here. This is from People Magazine, Page Turner. A man is thinking about anything soon with a woman he's been dating for less than a month after she insisted they start living together.
After how long?
Less than a month. Things have been great that he posted in the forum at Reddit, trying to get advice because nobody can make an independent decision. Things have been great until now. Out of nowhere, she asked if she can move in with me. She says she just knows we're meant to be, and that since we already spent so much time together, it makes sense. She also mentioned how her current living situation isn't great, but I feel like moving in this early is way too fast, and I told her I wasn't comfortable with it yet. She got upset, saying I must not take the relationship very seriously. Now I'm questioning myself. I really like her, but I don't want to rush things and ruin what we have. Am I overreacting? And I mean, and this person is not like 18 years old, which is. They're in their 20s, but I guess that's still a child these days. Anyway, what would you say to that?
I would say, why buy the cow if you could get the milk for free?
Oh, but okay, Elon.
Yeah.
Wow.
That is a death zone. Are you kidding me? You got to get a ring on that finger or something. You don't just move in with him. And I know it's all euphoric and happy the first few months, and you get lovesick where you just don't want to eat. All you want to do is be with the person that you're with.
God, gross.
But then
now I'm going to throw up. Dan.
That fades. And then what do you do?
But it's not him.
I know,
she's
her.
pushing it. And she's pushing it, and my living situation isn't great. That's a bit of a tell. I need free rent.
Yeah, you want somebody who's independent who can take care of themselves. Gentlemen.
I don't want to live with anybody.
You don't want to live with anybody?
Never. Is that a problem? I know some people that are married that, maybe they're not technically married, but they've been together for like decades, but they have like houses next to each other.
Right. Oh, Dan, me too. I'm sorry for interrupting, but I know a lot of people who are married and don't sleep in the same room. Some aren't even in the same house. Some are in different states, but they make it work because they want to have it that way. And that's their business. If that's what they want, and the kids are already grown and that have at it. But there's a lot of people like that. But why don't you want to? Because are you neat? Are you a neat freak or something?
No.
You just like your space, your alone time?
I want to be left alone.
Okay.
Yeah.
You don't want to have a honey-do list? Or what if somebody was nice and a little maybe independent, but yet a little subservient, just, wants to cook for you, clean, make life easier for you?
I've got people I pay to do that. It's transactional. It's much easier. It's much cleaner.
Okay.
And then you don't have those fatal attraction moments. Not going to be ignored. Ooh, chilling.
I know.
Kevin in Boston.
Well, I just wanted to chime in and say that Elon Musk is at a huge deficit when we compare to a great ruler of the time, Egyptians, Ramses the Great. And it is said that he beared 90 children. So do the math. He has a little ways to catch up.
Yeah, he's not even Antonio Cromartie yet. He's got a long way to go. Thanks for the call, Kevin. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
You're listening to Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
In 2012, the Journal of Cognition and Emotion published a study that showed that we make a decision to trust a person within 100 milliseconds of seeing their face. Making a good first impression has never been more important, and you can make that positive impression with a professional headshot from Tom Killoran Photography. Whether you're a job seeker trying to land your next position, or you're looking to build your business by connecting with prospective clients and customers, you need a high-quality headshot to use with your resume, portfolio, website, or other marketing materials. The experts at Tom Killoran Photography can work with you to capture the exact look you need for your professional presentation. Tom Killoran Photography is also the official photographer for AM 560 The Answer. To learn more and to see a sample of their work, just visit KilloranPhotography.com. That's KILLORAN Photography.com, or call them at 708-361-0025. Tom Killoran Photography, capturing important life moments for over 30 years.
Got some text messages. I still think Dan should be on the dating game. And then another text message.
I got a text too. This is an important factoid. Just factor in.
Okay.
May inform future text messages. She had a social media handle. I'm talking about Ashley St. Clair at Sex Laptop.
Oh.
So I don't know.
Something our moms didn't do back in the day.
I mean, there's something not square with her. But I mean, Elon's a bit of a weirdo too. I mean, he's a genius, but he's a bit of a weirdo. So I don't know. The whole thing is a bit unseemly for me.
All right. And then also, Dan doesn't need a woman. He's got Hayek, and he gives him all the love he needs.
It's true.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, folks, all across the country, states are embracing school choice and offering vouchers to families to send students to whichever school they want, including private schools. Unfortunately, lawmakers in Illinois have resisted this trend despite all the benefits of private education. Well, we have a solution if you want to send your child to a private school. It's called Chicagoland School Vouchers.com. It's simple. Just visit ChicagolandSchoolVouchers.com and tell us which private school you want to send your child to. Then we contact the school on your behalf, work to secure a voucher for half off the first year of tuition, typically saving thousands of dollars for families. Now, the program only applies to new students who are not currently enrolled in the school. So if you've been considering sending your child or grandchild to a private school and thought that it was financially out of the reach, don't worry, go to ChicagolandSchoolVouchers.com to learn more and start the process today. That's ChicagolandSchoolVouchers.com.
Freedom and liberty are important to all of us in Illinois, from Rockford to Carbondale, from Quincy to Decatur. If you're looking for civil, intellectual conversations with those shaping the future of freedom, try the Future of Freedom podcast with me, Scott Bertrand. We speak with leaders across the country in the greater conservative and libertarian movements. In-depth conversations about where the next intellectual battles will happen across the country. It's the Future of Freedom podcast. Find it at americastalking.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
AM 560, The Answer.
You know, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Of the couples you know, married couples, what percentage do you think will go the distance, excluding those that are only going to go the distance because they don't want to split assets? That's an important qualifier.
I know two couples that would never, ever dismantle their marriage because of assets.
Are you saying like that's 20% of the married couples you know?
Yes, a fourth.
Yeah.
Yes,
I think that's right. Yeah, I think that's about right.
Got another text message, Dan and Amy, and my mom was talking to me about this too. Elon Musk is building a residential compound in Texas for many of the wives and children to live together in their own homes, but yet near each other.
Oh, great. Big love. What is he, Brigham Young? This is still weird.
I know, it's still weird.
Come on.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Christian Toto, host of Hollywood and Toto, will talk about Hollywood's anti-Trump resistance 2.0, their latest effort to honor themselves by their opposition, their knee-jerk opposition to all things Trump. 8:38.
But first, let's head into the newsroom and catch up with Mike Scott.
8:32 here in Chicago, 5 below zero, wind chill of minus 20. The investigation into yesterday's plane crash in Toronto being led by the Transportation Safety Board of Canada that left 18 injured. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and other Trump administration members are speaking to reporters after finishing talks with Russian officials in Saudi Arabia.
The goal is, and we agreed on what the goal is to bring an end to this conflict in a way that's fair, enduring, sustainable, and acceptable to all parties involved. What that looks like, well, that's what the ongoing engagement is going to be all about.
This comes amid criticism from Ukraine's president and some EU allies who say the U.S. and Russia have no right to impose any settlement. The death toll in this weekend's severe storms that struck central and eastern U.S. is on the rise. At least 12 are now known dead in Kentucky. There's a new court filing from the White House that says Elon Musk is not the head of the Department of Government Efficiency. It comes as a federal judge is expected to issue a ruling by the end of the day on a lawsuit over Doge's power and access to some sensitive records. The court filing from the White House says Musk has no actual or formal authority to make government decisions by himself. Bitter temperatures continue across northern Illinois, southeast Wisconsin, and northwest Indiana. Watch out for cold-related conditions like hypothermia and frostbite. A patient is accused of stabbing an ER doctor at Provident Hospital in Chicago. That 56-year-old doctor was rushed to a trauma center and said to be in fair condition this morning. And Chicago Teachers Union President Stacey Davis Gates is facing a serious challenge from within her own ranks.
Our leadership has been prioritizing politics over the rank and file needs and our daily struggles.
The Rio caucus is led by that woman, Erica Meza, and the group charges current leadership has no classroom experience, and Rio is led by teachers in the classroom. Union elections happen on May 16. Chicago sports. Fighting Illini visit Wisconsin tonight, and in the A-10, Loyola will visit Davidson. The Cubs adding some depth to their starting rotation, signing right-hander Chris Flexen to a minor league deal. If that name sounds familiar, it should. Flexen spent last season with the White Sox. This update is service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Overpaying for dental implants is over. If you have a Blue Cross Blue Shield PPO or FEP, you can save 90% off on average. To get your smile back at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. 8:35, a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Larry Elder explains what we're really facing.
Chaos. 12 to 14 million illegal aliens in this country intentionally in the last 4 years, not vetted. Several on the terror watch list. Those are the ones that got caught. In this business of dreamers, the whole concept of DACA is illegal, in my opinion. They're illegal aliens.
The Larry Elder Show. Weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer.
When your home or business has an insurance claim, the next step is very important. The claim process with insurance can be tedious, hard to understand, and difficult to navigate. You need someone working for you. You need a licensed claim adjuster. Why? The insurance company will send out their inspectors that work for them, get paid by them, and represent them, not you.
This is Dan Lights from Crosscom. We inspect your property, file your claim, negotiate the damages, and maximize your settlement with your insurance company. If we complete the repairs approved by your insurance company, our service is free. Crosscom Public Adjusters has turned denied claims into approved claims. We've also increased insurance claims anywhere from 23 to 1,000%. We are licensed by the Department of Insurance and work in Illinois, Northwest Indiana, and Southern Wisconsin. Crosscom Public Adjusters, 630-871-5500. Online at CrosscomInc.com. That's CrosscomInc.com. Crosscom, building trust for over 20 years.
If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. Did you know the IRS has programs specifically designed to help people struggling with tax debt? Powerful tax assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm, A-rated by the Better Business Bureau. Their award-winning team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. One call to Optima can start the process, helping to end your worries about wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other IRS actions. Make sure you're getting the best options to solve your tax problems. Call the experts at Optima today for a free confidential consultation.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
8:38, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, a service of True Green. We're back in the Miller's Yard, who now use True Green. The lawns started looking like a golf course, and PGA Tour golfers are trying to make it their favorite stop. So get a PGA Tour quality lawn for as little as $1 a day at TrueGreen.com. Exclusions apply. See TrueGreen.com for any details. Kennedy, right now, 90 minutes. O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. The Ike in from 390 to the old post office. 90 minutes. You've got a disabled vehicle center lane block inbound at Morgan. Dan Ryan right now jammed up 30 minutes into the Circle interchange. DuSable Lakeshore Drive jams northbound right at Bryn Mawr, and a disabled vehicle cleared from the Tri-State southbound at North Avenue. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. A very cold day ahead, sun through high clouds, and a high of 11. 0 overnight, 14 tomorrow, Thursday 21, Friday 23. Partly sunny and 4 below at O'Hare, 1 below at Midway, 9 below in Aurora, 7 below at DuPage Airport. Your next news update is at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So, Kamala and dog Emhoff, her beau, her husband, they had a lovely Valentine's Day week in New York City. They attended a couple of Broadway shows, including A Wonderful World, which is a tribute to Louis Armstrong. And, of course, the Wonderful World cast wanted to be inspired by Kamala's soaring rhetoric, and so she addressed them after the show with all the platitudes she ripped off from her Hello Kitty desk calendar.
When we think about like these moments where we see things that are being taken, but also let's see it as nature abhors a vacuum. So where there's a vacancy, then let's fill it. Right?
Gosh.
And let's know that the reality is that the progress of our nation has always been about the expansion of rights, not the restriction of rights. We're seeing a U-turn right now for those rights to be maintained, which means we have to be vigilant, and it's just the nature of it. This beautiful play and everything that we know he was suppressed. He had to suppress so much. But he knew, and he took those risks. But we have to be clear-eyed. And it doesn't mean we don't see the beauty in everything, right? These things all coexist. But I believe we fight for something, not against something.
That's big. Word up. Is Cameo there?
All right, with that, I'll
Oh, yeah. Oh, boy. Woo! Oh, that was a lot to get through. That was heavy.
Did we dodge a bullet with that? Oh, my gosh.
The intellectual rigor of Kamala Harris, your future governor of California, maybe 2028 presidential nominee again. Let's hope, for J.D. Vance's sake. For more on this, what's going on in Hollywood? Christian Toto, host of the Hollywood in Toto podcast, hollywoodintoto.com. Christian Toto, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. Man.
Dear Lord.
Nature abhors a vacuum. We when they go high, or when we go, they go low, we go high, and so on and so forth.
You know the expression "dumb as a plank"? It seems insulting to the plank.
I don't know. The cast of It's a Wonderful Life was completely entranced, as you heard from their guttural responses.
That's acting. They should get awards.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Hamilton has nothing on that cast. What's going on in Hollywood? I mean, they've got to, fight the good fight, at least keep up appearances against Trump and platform the hysteria that we see on Capitol Hill and so forth. So what are they doing?
Yeah, the Trump resistance really didn't get going for a while. It was a little surprising. I mean, you think, just given the animosity toward him in Hollywood and everything that happened during the campaign, that it'd be just, full steam ahead. But it really wasn't. And even some of the, the Hollywood reporters and the varieties of the world were thinking, where is the Hollywood resistance? We need them now more than ever. And even at the Sundance Film Festival, there wasn't much. But now we're starting to see it. Now they're starting to get their voice. And part of the problem is that they've all left Twitter to go to Blue Sky. So even if they're shouting, no one actually hears it. But you're starting to see award shows take on this mantle. You saw it at the Grammys, the WGAs, the Directors Guild Awards. And I think I was unclear about this, but I think that the Oscars in a few weeks is just going to be an absolute resistance palooza. And it could be a debacle in many ways. First of all, no one's going to watch it because no one cares about the movies. I think the Emilia Perez controversy has really stained the Oscars because it's such a poor movie to get 13 nominations. And
it's a musical. I started watching. I'm like, what? I didn't expect that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even a traditional musical. It's kind of a hodgepodge, but
goofy.
Yeah, I think they figured this is what they need to do. This is what they have to do. This is where they're more of their emotional state, because the bottom line is that, and we've said this before, Hollywood is genuinely struggling right now. The fires, the fallout from the strikes, the fallout from the pandemic, the fact that streaming isn't the cash cow they thought it was, the box office isn't quite what it used to be, and Hollywood can't afford to chase away people. But they can't help themselves. They can't help whenever they get to a podium, whenever there's a microphone in front of them, whenever they can say something, they have to do it. And so I think the resistance is here. It's going to be ugly. It's going to be nonsensical. And you could argue you saw it over the weekend with Tom Hanks pretending to be a racist Trump supporter. I mean, that was really just a microcosm of what Hollywood thinks of us.
Well, if they keep doing this, I mean, they're never going to win another election. I mean, that fell so flat, and people in the audience didn't even laugh. I mean, it was so stupid, and it was just dumb. They didn't need to do that.
You know, it's a great point that I think people need to focus on more. Is not only was it dumb and it wasn't funny, but it didn't even land in the audience.
Right.
So I think on some elemental level, even their liberal audience realizes that this guy just keeps hiring people of color and women to route key positions in his organization. He's the worst racist ever. But they're going to kind of keep pushing this line. And shame on Tom Hanks. He's been a good guy through the years. He's been left of center, but he hasn't been divisive. And he's a great actor, and I give him a lot of credit. But doing that sketch at this time, celebrating a show that was once subversive and counterculture, and doing that, which is the laziest, hackiest bit possible, he should have raised his hand and said, listen, guys and gals, can you give me a different joke? This doesn't work.
Yeah, even everyman actor Tom Hanks doesn't get the benefit of the doubt from the SNL studio audience. I mean, that might tell you your bubble is a little thicker than it needs to be, or should be, for your own benefit.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I grew up on Saturday Night Live. I love the show. It clearly isn't anything like it used to be. It has lost its mojo. It's partisan. It's hacky. It's obvious. You know where every joke is coming. And it's a shame. It really is a shame. And, that particular reunion special got huge ratings because people do really care about the show. They've got great memories of the cast and the jokes and the skits. But when was the last new character that show has created? When was the last time a member of the show became a breakout star? It doesn't create stars anymore. It doesn't create memorable routines. It just doesn't do anything what it once did, and it doesn't speak truth to power, and it's cowardly, and it's predictable. It's everything the show used to not be.
I noted one of the ways that the Hollywood set is protesting is taking aim at the Kennedy Center since Trump installed himself as chairman of the Kennedy Center. And so some celebrities are refusing to perform at the Kennedy Center because, as a shot across the bow against Trump, like he cares if Issa Rae doesn't perform.
Yeah, listen, it's performative for sure for the most part. And listen, if he became part of the board and he started doing things that they found reprehensible or other actions, you could maybe make an argument there, but as soon as he signed on, they were like, I'm out. So it's just this lack, you talk about being a liberal in the truest sense of the word and welcoming other perspectives and other points of view. No, they're not like that. They're very one-sided. They can't think. And, that's the real problem with a Saturday Night Live is that there's no one on that staff. There's no writer who can raise his or her hand and say, listen, there are other perspectives here. There are other thoughts. There's other jokes. There's other ways we can go with this. There's no diversity of thought within this industry, and that's really hurting it.
Well, they can't. I mean, even when they do try to, show that they're adult enough to have comedians or actors that they don't agree with, they bring on Chappelle or they bring on Shane Gillis or something like that. Then it descends into their infantile conduct as usual because they can't tolerate anything that pokes fun at their sacred cows, which of course is the antithesis of comedy.
They had about 8 to 10 years to make fun of the woke mind virus. I mean, they really had the perfect perch from which to do so. And they did a great sketch called Woke Genes, which is, I think, about 7 years old now. And that was brilliant, but they really didn't touch it. And by the way, Dave Chappelle just said that when he went on the most recent show, that the show said you can't talk about transgender people and you can't talk about Gaza.
Really?
Now, listen, I probably would not agree with anything he would say about Gaza, but you're telling the greatest comedian around you can't say this and you can't say that. It's Saturday Night Live. It's no holds barred. It's the show that was irreverent and crazy for so long, and now you're saying there are guardrails. Please adhere to our guardrails. It's what a sad decline.
I wanted to talk to you about Disney because it's one of the most woke companies in America, but they seem to be backpedaling from DEI.
They certainly are. Listen, who knows what's happening behind the scenes? I suspect that some DEI initiatives may be repurposed or rebranded or somehow change in a way to kind of skirt the rules. But we are seeing a genuine change at Disney. I mean, last year we had Moana 2 and Inside Out 2, and they were not woke. They were not progressive. They were just like sweet stories, and you could love them or hate them, but they were not like what Disney's been cranking out. And then Disney recently ditched a trans character in a kiddie show aimed at Disney+. So I think they're changing some of the content. They're working behind the scenes to maybe tweak some things. And again, Disney's a massive company. They've been in the spotlight for their activism, and the fact that they're doing any kind of change is a sign of the times.
The recommendations for movies and or series that you're watching that people should be aware of, always appreciate your recommendations.
Well, a new movie comes out this Friday. It's called The Monkey. It is not for the faint of heart. It's a horror movie. It's also a horror comedy, you could say, but I thought it was terrific. It's directed by Osgood Perkins, and if you don't know the name, you know his dad, Mr. Psycho, Anthony Perkins. He's become a horror director now. He also did Longlegs, which was solid, so I definitely recommend that one. And also, on the same note, Heart Eyes is another horror comedy. Again, pretty gruesome stuff. It's good. And also, this I haven't screened it. I'm watching it very soon. It's called The Unbreakable Boy with Zachary Levi. It opens this weekend. It's a fact-based story about a kid with a lot of sort of physical challenges. It's an inspirational story. It looks really good. I'm kind of eager to check that out, so I can't review it, but I just am intrigued by it. And then on the small screen, I haven't caught the first episode. I think it just went live a day or two ago. But The White Lotus, the first 2 seasons on Max were excellent. Ooh. And I think it sort of embraces woke and denies it at times. It's a very interesting way that it looks at storytelling, and it's got a great cast. This time it's got Walton Goggins as part of the ensemble. So I've enjoyed that show so far. I can't imagine it's going to slip too badly. So I'll be checking that out. I think other people should as well.
What I just watched too is The Apprentice, and Jeremy Strong. He better get an Oscar for his performance, and also the gentleman who played Trump. Sebastian Stan. I thought that movie was going to be so different, but I learned a lot about Trump, and I didn't think it was, disparaging. I think it made Trump look more like a working class American.
I had issues with the film itself, but those performances are spectacular. And I think what Sebastian Stan did was he avoided the kind of the typical quirks that Trump has, and he dialed down and made him more human. But Jeremy Strong was just out and out villainous. And a great performance. So, yeah, there's a chance he could win. And, of course, that film made no money. And there was a lot of hullabaloo about it, about what some of the things that were alleged in the film. But, yeah, you can't deny the performances are not first rate. They are.
What do you think of? Are you watching Severance?
No, I'm not, and I've heard nothing but great things about it. Ben Stiller's a terrific director, so I should catch up with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just season 2 just dropped, and so it's just come a couple episodes in, I think. But it's a great cast, especially the first season with Walken and Turturro, in addition to Adam Scott and Patricia Arquette. It's worth checking out. All right, yeah. Christian Toto, host of Hollywood in Toto and the podcast at HollywoodInToto.com, HollywoodInToto.com. Christian Toto, thank you as always.
My pleasure.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Perhaps you're a collector, or perhaps all of a sudden you have a collection. Maybe it's an inheritance. How do you know what it's worth? This is Sean Thompson for Donley Auction. The market for antiques and collectibles is changing all the time. What is your collection worth right now? Well, I've got an easy way to find out. It's simple. You contact Donley Auctions. With their worldwide audience of live and in-person auctions, they have a good idea of how to tell you exactly what it's worth at exactly right now. They're ready to put top dollar in your pocket. The bigger the collection, the better. Go to DonleyAuctions.com and get the info on all things that they buy and sell to have an idea of exactly what Donley does and how much they need your collection. They have so many buyers, it's a great time to sell. Just simply make a phone call. Donley has traveled all over the country to pick up collections. Just call and talk to the people at Donley Auctions at 815-923-7000. Donley Auctions is your trusted partner in turning your collections into cash. DonleyAuctions.com.
Does pain in your life impact everything you do, like walking, climbing stairs, even getting out of your car? You don't have to live like this. Hey, Amy Jacobson here with a solution. Joint pain in your knees, hips, shoulders, and back due to arthritis or an injury can be eliminated. How? Well, with the help from our good friends at QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics regenerative treatments are sweeping the nation. Everyone's talking about it. And they're right here in Chicago under the guidance of medical director Dr. Ashley Caravelli. Here's how it works. QC Kinetics treatments prompt your body to heal and restore damaged joints. Joint pain doesn't get better with time. See if you're a candidate for these life-changing treatments. Call QC Kinetics for a free consultation and tell them Amy Jacobson sent you. Saturday appointments available. Call 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. Again, 312-809-5955.
At Signature Bank, going the distance for business banking customers is what we do every day. We understand that business owners have a strategic mission, a drive to succeed, a plan for growth, and don't have time to wait for a bank to respond. With Signature Bank, you not only have a banking partner that has roots right here in Chicago, but our decisions are made locally too. Signature Bank knows that when you have a question or problem about your business, you want answers. You need someone who will pick up the phone or respond to your text. You need someone who is always there for you. That's Signature Bank. We are a team that wants to get to know you and your business. Want to be Signature Bank's next success story? Give us a call today at 773-467-5630 or visit us online at signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
When you need parts machined, think NJC for CNC.
NJC Machine Company is a CNC machine shop using computer software combined with old world craftsmanship, meaning whatever part or piece you need, it'll be done precisely and quickly, beating OEM pricing. Whether you need 1 or 1,000 parts, NJC uses experienced workmanship with state-of-the-art equipment for the finest and fast turnaround CNC milling, CNC turning, and 5-axis machining.
Think NJC for CNC.
A one-stop shop for everything from CNC machining, surface grinding, polishing, welding, and more. NJC has the finest array of capabilities to produce your parts from just about any material.
Think NJC for CNC.
Have a broken part? NJC can reverse engineer it. Get a quote today and discover unparalleled customer service. Just fill out the form online, upload your specs. NJC will reach out within 48 hours.
Go to njcmachine.com.
NJC Machine Company, your Illinois CNC shop.
That's njcmachine.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and Amy, can a public institution in Illinois, can any public institution do anything right? Terrence Shannon, the Illini standout, had his jersey retired this weekend. And at the retirement ceremony at Assembly Hall, when they unveiled, they called Terrence Shannon to unveil his jersey that was going to hang from the rafters, they had it upside down.
No, they did not.
They absolutely did.
I thought you were going to say they had the wrong number or they spelled his name wrong. They had it upside down?
They had the jersey upside down. Josh Whitman, the AD, had to apologize after the fact because, of course, it was so embarrassing. But, you know, in some respects, it's sort of like symbolic. It's like an upside down American flag. It's Illinois in distress.
Exactly.
Yeah, which actually makes sense both from a basketball perspective as well as an institutional perspective, as well as a state school perspective. I think they're gonna get hammered by Wisconsin tonight, especially with that freshman Montez Johnson out with a broken wrist.
Broken wrist, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're saying it was
that's
a cry
problem.
for help, Dan?
I mean, I'm not sort of inadvertently, but I'm just saying that every public institution in Illinois is buffoonish. That's basically what I'm saying.
All right.
Including U of I.
Yes. Thanks, boss. Thanks to Justin Kosick and Quinn McCarthy. As always, we're back here bright and early tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. Now let's get into that newsroom with the latest on this frigid weather and more. Here is Mike Scott.
Right now, -4 officially at O'Hare, and health officials